It is a Monday. And it's 2 Eastern. So what does that mean? It's Big Sills. How you doing, man? Awesome time of the year. 69 days until the start of training camp. 69 days. Say it with me. Hey, by the way, I'm sorry, guys. Hey, I was just talking to Xander, and I didn't bring this up with Xander. Are you really going to try to sell me T-Wolves and who? Wait a minute, T-Wolves and Mavericks? And are you really going to sell me Celtics and Pacers for the conference championship games in the NBA? And let's just say the Pacers. Wait a minute. Okay, the Pacers and the T-Wolves make it to the finals. Really? Sorry, man. I have no interest in that. I'd rather watch the WNBA. Holy cow. That's your Final Four, T-Wolves and Mavericks. And Pacers and Celtics. Hey, did you see how ESPN was crying over the weekend? I can't believe we're not going to get Knicks and Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. I can't believe. Oh my God, they were so heartbroken. You talk about getting butthurt. Oh, man. ESPN was so upset that the Knicks got knocked out because they wanted, and so did Park Avenue for that matter, wanted Knicks and Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. Unbelievable, man. Sorry, dude. You can't sell me. And also, this is what makes the NFL great, too. So I tuned in to PGA Championship. Valhalla's a nice golf course, but 61s and 62s throughout the tournament, that's not really a great championship. So what do we have? We are counting the days down to football. Hey, baseball, wake me up after the All-Star break. Phillies are doing great. Yeah, okay. Well, starting pitching, let's see what you do in the NLCS. All right? Pitching. Wake me up after the All-Star break. Then we'll get there. Football dominates, man. No matter what the news is. Schedule release. OTAs, first day right now for the Eagles to get on the field with everybody, rookies and veterans. Absolutely awesome. By the way, thank you, Prince. He reminded me. Guys, you guys have been absolutely sensational. We are making a bench mark for 250 likes each and every single day. You know why? Can I tell you why I'm doing that? When people say nothing's going on, that never affects the Sileo Show, National Football Show. No way on the planet will that ever affect us because of you. And the more work we do now, the easier it is in the fall. That's how I've always looked at it. Oh, and by the way, you're killing these other shows. You're absolutely killing them. We know you have other options. We appreciate you coming here each and every single day to JAKIB Sports and to Big Sills and the National Football Show. I can't thank you enough. All right. Got to tell you, today I'm going to make my case. I'm going to make my case. You know, you guys are constantly saying this to me all the time. Josh Allen is overrated. I'm going to make my case to you on why, like many people think, he could be arguably the greatest talent in the National Football League. Okay? And it's not close. And you guys like to bring your guy, Jalen Hurts, up. Also, we will also take a look at Howie Roseman biggest gamble. Sue, I love me some Josh Allen. Love me some Josh Allen. What's up? N91. Hurts better than Allen. Okay. How many people in here believe that Josh Allen's not as good as Jalen Hurts? How many people would take Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen. Hurts went to a Super Bowl, so did Jimmy Garoppolo. So did Jake Delhomme. So did Colin Kaepernick. Oh, it's not just so much about Josh Allen. I'll admit, Allen is better talent. He just can't win the big games. Really? Okay, that's a falsehood. Hurts took us to the Super Bowl. And so did Jake Delhomme. Take a team. Well, let me put this out here for you. Here are the quarterbacks that have been the best quarterbacks in the last 3 years in the National Football League. Mahomes, 14,272. 105 touchdowns, 39 picks. Not a shocker. Number 2, Josh Allen. 12,996, 100 touchdowns, only 47 picks. Wow, that's funny. You mean to tell me he's only got 8 more turnovers than Patrick Mahomes? How can that be? You guys said he's a turnover machine. Well, Mahomes must be a turnover machine. He's only got 8 more than Patrick. Justin Herbert, 12,887, 83 touchdowns, 32 picks. He's number 3. Jared Goff is 12,258, 78 touchdowns, 27 picks. Some of these guys have missed significant time also. Derek Carr, 5th, 12,204, 72 touchdowns, 36 picks. Dak Prescott is 6th, 11,825, 96 touchdowns, 34 picks. These are the top 10 quarterbacks in the last 3 years since your guys have been starting. Number 7, Trevor Lawrence. 11,770. 58 touchdowns, 39 picks. Number 8, Joe Burrow. Missed an entire season last year almost. 11,395. 84 touchdowns. Number 9, Kirk Cousins. 11,000 yards, 99. 80 touchdowns, 26 picks. Number 10, Matthew Stafford. 10,938, 75 touchdowns, 76. Where's your boy Hurts in this? Tagovailoa, 10,703, 70 picks, or 70 touchdowns, 32 picks. And here's Jalen Hurts, 61 touchdowns in 3 years. Allen's got 100. Jalen's thrown 30 interceptions. Allen's thrown 47. Mahomes has thrown 9 more picks than Hurts, but these guys have thrown almost 40 more touchdowns than your guy. And their quarterback rating is 10 times. Where are you guys coming up with this notion that he's a better player? Rushing touchdowns do not matter. No rushing quarterback wins Super Bowls. Okay? Hey, Sam, you leave me with the content here because I'm going to make another point here in a minute. Let me show you what your boy Jalen Hurts has been averaging the last 3 years. 3,567 yards and 20 touchdowns and 10 picks. You're not winning a Super Bowl with this. Emmanuel Acho's right. He said this 2 days ago. You don't have a good enough quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Let's do this. Let's look at wins. Russell Wilson never had over 6 rushing touchdowns in a season. Ever. Let's look at wins the last 3 years. That should favor him. Right? That should favor. Look at Mike. Troy Aikman never had big numbers. The Dallas Cowboys relied on a running game. And the all-time leading rusher in the history of the National Football League. You really didn't have to because Troy was constantly in third and short. You understand that, right, Mike? When you have the NFL's all-time leading rusher, the history of the league as your running back, you're not going to have to throw the ball much. You're not going to. Hey, wins should favor Hurts, right? Wins. That matters. Winning matters, okay? Last 3 years, the most wins by a starting quarterback in the NFL is Patrick Mahomes at 36. You know who's second? Josh Allen with 35. Where is your point that this guy doesn't win games? Last 3 years, he's second in the league with 35 wins. Hurts is third with 33. Dak is fourth with 31. Lamar Jackson, fifth with 28. Two are tied at sixth. Tua and Burrow. Derek Carr's got 8. And Cousins also is there at 8 with 25. Can you imagine if you had a decent quarterback, how many more wins you would get? My point is, Emmanuel Acho is right. You don't have a good enough guy to win you a game. That's going to take you over the top. This is the 3-year sample size now. We're not talking about 1 year. This is 3 years of starting football. 3 years. Allen has done more. Allen wins more. He has a higher win percentage. But then again, so do 9 other guys. You don't have a good enough quarterback to win a Super Bowl. You don't. Nobody was ever going to say that Nick Foles was going to go to multiple Super Bowls in Philly. You can get there and win one, Joe Flacco. Or you can get there and lose one and never get back. At the end of the day, this is the point that you're going into training camp. And I'll ask this question to you. Are you more concerned about 2024 with Hurts or with Kellen Moore? Who are you more concerned about? Eventually, the coaching and the player has to supersede that, doesn't he? Sills, pick stats to fit his narrative. No, these are the quarterbacks. It's not just been one. There's 11 guys who have had better 3-year span than Jalen. You've got sensational talent on your football team. My point is, don't let it go to waste. Like you did a year ago. Last year was a waste because the quarterback wasn't good enough. You know what? Here's something that I want to have Eagle fans and everyone. Why are you giving last year? Do you have amnesia? What do you have amnesia? Why are you so forgiving in what happened last year in the second half of the season? Why are you so forgiving? And why are you giving that the benefit of the doubt? Can you answer that? Why are you giving an organization the benefit of the doubt that they're going to radically turn this around like that? Why are you giving them and saying that this is going to be better? And what is giving you when you know you have a coach still in place? That was the spearhead of the absolute colossal meltdown. If Hurts was a top 5 to 7 guy, there's no way they self-destruct the way they did last year. That's absolutely the truth, Duel. If he was as good as said by some, you would never have had that nuclear meltdown and implosion like that, because he would have threw the team out of trouble. That's why. Stop with the coaching. The player has to be. Why are you so forgiving of what happened last year? Either Hurts learns to be a pocket passer or he's done, because eventually his body will break down and won't be able to run. Sam, here's my problem. You have a lot of really good football players on your offense right now. That's as good of a group of offensive players I've ever seen. In the salary cap era, and get this, greatest show on turf, that wasn't salary cap era. This is one of the greatest collections of players I've ever seen here in San Fran. Get this. I'm not sure. Hey, Niner all day, I'm not sure if you have the right guy. And he's superior in the passing game to Jalen. I don't know if he's good enough. Sills, if Hurts ain't it, then what else is there? Q, great question. If he's not it, I'm going down the line of putting a functional guy in there that gets me Kirk Cousins numbers. Why would I pay a guy who's the lesser of 11 other guys in the league? You're paying $50 million. Get this. Hurts has a lot of wins. Can you imagine if he was good? If he was fifth and did what Dak did in the last 3 years, you wouldn't lose a game. You would not lose a game. He's not good enough. 3 years. Get this. I'm done talking 22. This is a 3-year sample size. How many games has he started as an NFL quarterback? Does anyone know that number? I didn't write that number down. Hurts has no. No. Niner all day. I'm not saying that he has to go. Not yet. I am not saying that. But this is close. This is more of an important year than what people think it is. Jalen Hurts stats. Let's see here how many games that Jalen Hurts has played in. Okay, Jalen Hurts has played in 62 games, and he has started 51 games. 51 games. Regular season. Jalen Hurts has played in 51 games. That's not a big enough sample size for you to determine who he is. You need almost 70 games to figure out who he is. If that's the case, you already know who he is. He's got 51 games as a starting quarterback in this league. 51. Sills, clearly Hurts doesn't care about stats. It's a stat-happy league. Dude, you're telling me, let's just take the top guys out of this. In the last 3 years, you're telling me Derek Carr has better numbers? Trevor Lawrence? I didn't think Trevor Lawrence was even in the top 7. Kirk Cousins? Tua's got better numbers. Of all the quarterbacks that have thrown for TDs in the top 15, Hurts is 20th in touchdown passes. He's 20th. The team wins, like Manuel Acho says. How many rushing touchdowns? I don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You're not good enough to go to the Super Bowl with this guy. He's not good enough to win games that matter. No way, man. You guys always bring that up about Allen is like 10 times the player. Dude, Kirk Cousins. Get this with Cousins. He's got 7 more wins than Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins is 8th in the last 3 years in passing in the league. Think about this. Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence. This guy's not winning more than you think. Josh Allen's got more wins. I mean, he already went, so what the hell are you talking about? He'll never get back there, dude. That was a one-of. It was a one-of. Never get back there. One more time. Stop using that as that's the only metric he has compared to these other quarterbacks in the league. And I could give you some of the worst quarterbacks ever. Rex Grossman got to a Super Bowl. Rex Grossman won an NFC championship game. Rex Grossman. Brad Johnson has won a Super Bowl. I mean, Hurts been to the Super Bowl and was the best player on that team. I get your point, but with a great team, Hurts proved he can take us there. He was not very good in those playoff games. He played great in the Super Bowl. He was terrible in the Giants game, and he was adequate in the Niner game. I didn't see anything exceptional. The Super Bowl, he was really good in. Absolutely. That's the best game that he's played in the last 20. It's the best game he's played in 20 games. Rex didn't win. Neither did Hurts. Mark Rippon won a Super Bowl. Chills, go back and look at that Giants game. I did. They're not very. Look at the numbers. 130-some yards passing. He was terrible in it. When it comes to losing, nobody beats the Bills. Hurts needs the perfect system. If it's not tailor-made for him, he won't play at a championship level. Dream Green, that is a great take. That's the take. See, Xander said something, but that's the take that fits Xander's take. That's the take. That's why Kellen Moore and these OTAs that you see that they're having, a bunch of these OTAs, they started today in the installment. That is no question one of the absolute most important things this offseason. Will they be able to conform a system that fits his skill set Absolutely true. Shane Steichen, I don't know if he's a great play caller. I know this about him. I think he's a tremendous play designer and a system builder. That's what I think his skill set is. Look what he did for Anthony Richardson. And do you think it's any coincidence that Anthony Richardson looks so proficient in that Jalen Hurts offense? He mimicked the same skill set. He got that quarter. Get this. The Colts could have traded or drafted any quarterback that year in the draft. How high did they take Anthony Richardson? How high did he go? Was he like third or something in that? How high? I forget how high Anthony Richardson went. And that's the guy he wanted. He went fourth overall. Thanks, Mike. Richardson went fourth overall. You know what his passing percentage was at Florida? Like 53%, 51%. He wasn't very good. But you know what Shane said? I don't care about pass completion percentage. I don't care about numbers. You know what I care about? This guy can run my RPO system. That RPO system that he built in Philly is now tailor-made for Anthony Richardson. You know what Anthony Richardson would do in Philly? He would be insane great. Because they're the same skill set guys. He's just bigger. He's just bigger. Hey, listen, maybe one day someone wins a Super Bowl with that style of play where a guy has 22 touchdowns passing and 15 rushing. Maybe that happens, but it ain't right now. Why? Because the NFL is protecting these guys. You know what's crazy? Have we not realized the one thing that the NFL and what the Eagles and what everyone has learned from Cam Newton? NFL referees are not going to give you the benefit of the doubt if you take off running and you're putting up 15 rushing touchdowns. You're going to allow to get killed. Because guess what? The NFL doesn't want quarterbacks with high rushing numbers because it doesn't sell and the optics aren't good. This isn't a Jeffrey Lurie deal. This is an NFL optics. That's not sexy to watch. I think this is a 3-year window besides how many quarterbacks have been to the Super Bowl in the last 3 years and won it. You understand what I'm saying here? Cam Newton is the prime example of how the NFL was not able to legislate penalties against him. They allowed that guy to get annihilated. They didn't protect him. Referees in today's NFL, that's why Hurts is not being coached to be an RPO and open field runner anymore. Because the refs are not going to give that quarterback the benefit of the doubt. They'll give Brady it. Why? Brady's a drop back guy. Does having different OCs each year affect a quarterback, Dan? It does. I'm not going to deny that. But that's an organizational failure. That's an organizational failure because that's by design, Martin. Martin, that's by design. You're going to have a new coordinator next year anyway, no matter what happens. Jalen Hurts will not have the same coordinator next year. He will not. Moore's either going to get fired or hired. There's no way around it. I mean, like I said, if that guy takes you to the NFC Championship game, he's not going to go, hey, well, let me come back to Philly. He's going to go get a head coaching job. You're not seeing what these jobs are paying now? These jobs are now paying $10, $18 million now. You got head coaches that are first-time guys making $12, $13 million. You must be under some crazy assumption that these offensive coordinators are making $8, $9 million. They're not. They're making $1.5 million. Some of these guys make actually less than the college offensive coordinators. We're winning the Super Bowl. I hope you do, kid. Be great for my show. That's where you guys, once again, fall on deaf ears here with this. I'm not rooting against the kid. I'm telling you who you are. Hurts full gold without Surtain or without Shane Steichen. If anything, our division is pretty weak. Okay? We usually split with Dallas. I think you sweep Dallas. I think you sweep the Giants, and I think you split with the Commanders again. How much do let's see here. Vic Fangio never lost to the Cowboys. No, he just lost to Brian Johnson. Eagles coordinators will be a revolving door because of the usual competitive teams. No, because you don't have a play calling head coach. By the way, that autism event, I looked at some of the highlights and I saw some of the coverage of it. It's a really cool event that the Eagles put on. Kudos to them. It's a real big factor that they have in that building, and it's something that matters to Jeffrey Lurie and the Eagles. Got to give them kudos. That's a really wonderful event. All the players show up, and all the players embrace all the fans and such. I think it's a great event. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl bed of the RPO. Steven, yes. He ran the RPO like Mahomes ran the RPO. Jalen Hurts will have more passing yards than Josh Allen in 24. How in the world will you? That's the same shit, senor, they said about the Kansas City Chiefs when Tyreek Hill. And what did Mahomes do? He broke the single season passing yardage record. Sure. Okay. There's not one thing technically that Jalen has done in the last 3 years that supersedes anything as a skill set player that Josh Allen has done. Nothing. 0 more touchdowns. Only 8 more picks. He's won more games. Higher completion percentage. All of that. You guys make it sound like this guy here is a turnover machine. Well, that's not true. He's got more wins. More wins. Sills, did you see how Jordan Davis looked? I really don't care how he looks. I want to know how he's going to play. Okay? Great. Is he good enough? I think it's wonderful and it's a great sign. But always remember this. That's exterior. It's exterior. Let's see what he's going to do when he gets on a football field. All I'm saying. And by the way, do I want Jordan Davis to lose a ton of weight being a nose? I don't know. I need a run gap guy in there. Not a pass rusher. He's not a pass rusher. He is not a pass rusher. Okay? Steven, last 3 years, Allen's won more games. Same 3 years that Hurts has been starting. Josh Allen is a regular season hero. Steve, once again, he doesn't have to go through the shitty NFC like Hurts does. Hurts could never get through that AFC. Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. Last year, the Eagles lost field position. Yeah, because they didn't run the ball effectively, especially in the second half. If you put Hurts on that Bills and Allen on the Eagles, it isn't remotely close on who. Fact. Here. But it's really not just a Josh Allen conversation. Is Jalen Hurts good enough to win a Super Bowl? Xander made a great point. Sills, on a good team with good play calling, he got there. You can't just dismiss that. He's right. He can't. How many years are you going to lean on that? His entire career? Okay, I don't think that's awful. If Jordan Davis can be more like Vince Wilfork, that's who I thought he should be like when they drafted him. So you're making excuses? I'm not making excuses. I'm telling you what is up in the AFC and the NFC. That's not an excuse. Are you under some sort of guise that there's not better quarterbacks in the AFC? Or are you just denying that? Seals, is there any DC in today's game that resembles Jim Johnson? I'll tell you what, man. I like Jim Schwartz in Cleveland. I like what he does in Cleveland. I like that coach. Gambles a little bit too much. You got to kind of stay on the reservation. He doesn't like a lot of freelancing, but I actually like him. Todd Bowles, another guy. Todd does a great job of blitzing. I think Leslie Frazier's a good one. Yeah. I think Leslie Frazier. Belichick's probably the best of all time. Sills is making excuses. Wow. Josh Allen plays Mahomes. So get this. Senor thinks Josh Allen playing Mahomes is an excuse. And Baker Mayfield playing Jalen Hurts is not. Or that's not an excuse? Or what? I'm confused. What is it? What are you trying to suggest to me, Senor, that playing against Baker Mayfield is an easier road to the NFC Championship game than playing against the 3-time MVP in the Super Bowl? Is that what you're suggesting? Is it? Well, I'm confused, Senor. I'm confused. So, playing against Patrick Mahomes, a 3-time Super Bowl MVP, is the equivalent of Jalen playing against Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. Is that what you're saying? Really? Huh. Jim nearly cost you a Super Bowl, but as history writes, he didn't. Okay? Just curious. Jalen Hurts beat Mahomes and Josh Allen in games that didn't matter. You lost home field in the East anyway. And you turned around and laid it. Hey, it's one thing to beat those guys. It's another thing to turn around and lose the shitty guys. Let's move on. I made my point. Your guy's not good enough. I'm with Emmanuel Acho. He's not good enough to win a Super Bowl unless everything's perfect to at least get you back in that situation. And everything is not perfect this year. Head coach, and there's a question mark on Moore. Get this. You guys are mad because I point out a 51-game sample size on who Jalen Hurts is, and he's not in the top 15. In today's pass-happy NFL, and you're trying to tell me you have a guy that's good enough. Okay, 22 he was, but we all know that's never going to revisit this because they're not going down that route. That's why they got Barkley. It's crazy how I can name 13 other guys that have done more with less. No, last 3 years, Allen's got 35 wins. Hurts has 33 wins. That's the number. Crazy. Emmanuel had a bum-ass Kurt. You know what? That has nothing to do with a conversation. How good you were, how bad you were, Has nothing to do with it. Emmanuel Acho's not taking it personal out on the Eagles. I've heard him actually praise the fan base. But when somebody brings up a point or has a point of conversation that you don't like, what you'll do, you'll just somehow dismiss it. Right? By the way, today we will have on Joe Theismann, former Monday Night Football host, NFL Most Valuable Player. We will talk to him. That'll be at 3:30. We will also talk to Gary Cobb. We have something planned special for you. Xander doesn't even know this. Gary's at a golf event with former Eagle players. He's going to try to put on some of the former players while he's at this event. I have no idea who may rear their head at 4:30. Our good friend Gary Cobb from Fox 29. Xander, did you get that picture I sent to him at USC? I want G Cobb to see that picture of him at USC. So Gary Cobb will be with us at 4:30. By the way, tomorrow, Angelo Cataldi will join us as well. That'll be tomorrow. So we know our team, but what we don't like is people like you keep talking about our team in a bad light. What? In a bad light? I'm pointing out where you need to get better. Bad light? Boy, I'll tell you what, Philly, you could never be coached. You think coaches sit around there kissing players' asses all day long? Or do you work on the things that you need to work on to be great? What do you think they sit around doing? Drinking Slurpees? You work on your deficiencies. You work on your failures. Man, I'll tell you what, most of the people that watch this show and most of the people that listen to it could never be coached. Could never be coached. Never. And by the way, 304 says it. If you're sensitive, you in the wrong business. You in the wrong business. Seals, do you think Allen will have a 1,000-yard receiver? No, I don't. It won't matter, though. Mahomes hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver in the last 2 years. What's it mattered there? Didn't matter also with Wentz. 1,000-yard receivers? What's that got the Dolphins, the Seahawks, and the Eagles in the last 3 years? Or last 2 years? What's that got you? Seahawks, Dolphins, and Eagles. What's it got you? Curious. Yes, Wentz did go for 4,000 yards, jackass. Yes, he did. Where's Sims? Another. Oh, there are 4 types of memory you're talking about. One of them. Will Josh Allen have more or less than 5? I don't know, but I know he'll have 4,500 passing yards and 30 some odd touchdowns like he does every year. What's he averaging now? Let's see. He's got 13,000 yards in 3 years. Well, he's going to average 4,000 yards. A little over 4,000, 4,200, 4,300, something there. And he's going to average 30 touchdowns, 35 touchdowns. He's got 100 in 3 years. 35 touchdown passes? I don't know. He's going to go for, here's what he's done. 3,200 yards, 4,200 yards, and 35 touchdowns. That's what he'll do. Yeah. Yeah. Allen will never win a Super Bowl. Not that easy, my friends. There's only 4 active ones right now that have won Super Bowls that are starters. You think this is easy? Okay, I mean, There's only 4 starting quarterbacks in pro football that have won Super Bowls. And you guys are making it go, well, hey, he'll never win. He may not. He may not win. Okay? He may not. Sills, let's make a bet. $500 to a charity of our choice if Hurts doesn't win a Super Bowl in 2 years. Time, okay. Steven, okay. I'll do that. Steven, you make sure you also make sure you post that on my Twitter page or my X at Dan Sileo Show. In the next 2 years, Jalen Hurts wins a Super Bowl, I'll donate $500 to a charity of your choice. And if he doesn't, you do me. Fair? Okay. I'll take those odds. Who else wants to do that next 2 years? Who else wants to do that? In the next 2 years, Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl. Anybody else? I'll give you my Venmo, too, just so you know. I'll give you my Venmo. Tell you what, they got some pretty good tight ends and a really good running back up there in Buffalo. I'd be careful, guys. I'd be careful. Kincaid and Bush are Pro Bowlers. All right. We're going to move on. We're going to move on. Howie Roseman's gamble is next. Xander had a topic this morning. He kind of hit on it like this much. And when you're in a conversation with another dude, sometimes, you're looking to get the topics. And I just happened to be tuning it on, and I heard him talk about. And then I heard John McMullen say something about Bryce Huff. This is Howie's biggest gamble. Okay? So I did some more diving into this. How many people in here believe that Bryce Huff is adequately going to replace your best defensive football player in Hassan Reddick this year? How many people here think that Bryce Huff is going to replace your best defensive player the last 2 years? Easily 10 sacks. I really don't know. Huff getting full-time reps? He's not getting full-time reps. God forbid you start him on first down and get murdered. Get murdered. Close this year. Next year, no drop-off. Oh. Okay. Huff's a one-trick pony. Not that Reddick's not. Okay. So here's Bryce Huff at the age of 25 right now. Okay. By the way, one thing John McMullen said that is right on. And Xander kind of threw that out there. You know what it is? Dude, if you don't get 100% equal production, it's a failure at $18 million. It's a failure. You can't have a 60 or 70% production. That's a 40% drop off in an area where you struggled mightily a year ago in pass pressure. You get 75% production compared to Reddick. That's still a monster drop-off. It'll be a monster drop-off 2 years in a row. That guy has to have equal, if not better. Like, get this. Are you guys how many people are suggesting that Saquon Barkley is going to give the same, if not more, production than what DeAndre Swift did? How many people believe that? That Barkley's going to give you more than 1,300 yards, 1,200 yards. Let's be fair. More than 1,200 yards and 33 catches. You think he's going to do more than 1,200 yards and 33 catches? Okay? Barkley's not going for 1,400 yards. That means the wide receivers are going to get less targets. That's not happening, Dominique. That's not happening. You're paying those guys $25 million annually as a combination. That's not going to happen. And by the way, if Barkley he's on pace for 1,500 yards, he'll never make the season because that's 300 carries. You're not giving him 300 carries. You'll be lucky to see 225 carries. Not giving him 300 carries. He's never had over 240. You guys are nuts. Most he's ever. Now, again, I get the better talent, but again, it's about spreading the ball around and playing championship football, right? Here, but the point is that you think he's going to be more productive. Why shouldn't you think that with Bryce Huff? Here's Hassan Reddick the last 4 years. And he's 29. He's 4 years older than Huff. And here's Huff's numbers first. 16 total tackles, 2 sacks. 14 tackles, 2 sacks. 6 tackles, 3.5 sacks. Last year, 29 tackles, 10 sacks. Here's Reddick, 29 the last 4 years. 63 tackles, 12.5 sacks. 68 tackles, 11 sacks. 49 tackles, 16 sacks. Last year, 38 tackles and 11 sacks. 2, 2, 3.5, 10. 12.5, 11, 16, 11. And you really think that Bryce Huff is going to equal or supersede Reddick? And you know what the new narrative is? He's aging. When you had 2 coordinators last year changing the system, he doesn't get that benefit of the doubt and a broken hand at the beginning of the year. Hassan Reddick, if he didn't have that broken hand at the end of the year, he'd had 15, 16 sacks again. This guy gave you in regular season play, counting the postseason, over 30 sacks. This guy combined, let's take a look at this. 4, 7.5. He has 27 sacks in 4 years. Reddick has 27 sacks in 2 years in the regular season. So when Xander and John are talking about Reddick and Bryce Huff, Bryce Huff can't have a 60% of what Reddick is. He can't have 80. He's got to live up and exceed. You know why? You're paying him more. And he has no history except for one season. This is Howie's gamble. And what makes this gamble even more obnoxious, you didn't really get anything in return that could help your team in the next 2 years. Nothing. You just got rid of the kid. You can make the argument, why don't they just pay both of them? Spend some money. What's that number that Xander keeps posting on our JAKIB? You have the money to pay both. Why didn't you? Howie? You had $30 million. You have $30 million. What guy in the open market are you going to go out and fucking get right now that equals 27 sacks in 2 years? Tell me. Give me one guy. Dominique, why didn't he pay him? He's got 30. Guy's got 30 million bucks. What's that number Xander posts? 27 million? You could have easily paid for both. Thank you, Niner. You guys are floating that number out like it's a big deal. Well, use it. Get this. Senor goes, it's not serious. When you're relying on Nolan Smith and a one-year dude, and you better get pressure because your coordinator doesn't blitz, you don't think you have concerns if you're that D coordinator on where pressure's coming from. Holy cow. Senor doesn't think it's a deal because he's under the impression Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff are going to... So wait, you're going to use a first-round pick and an $18 million guy. Okay, another guy just said we're going to use Swift. You're going to use 3 guys to try to duplicate 27 sacks in Hassan Reddick. That's cheap. Well, I'll use 3 guys to equal that number so I don't have to pay. He didn't upgrade the pass rush. He just moved money. It's like doing this. Well, I'm going to fire the guy and give him a salary. That's what he did. He fired Reddick and he gave Huff his money. That's not upgrade. That's cheap. And you still have $30 million under the cap. What are you saving it for? A new Slurpee machine? Or let me get, what's that NFLPA thing? Better lounges? What? Better locker rooms? Better chefs? What are you saving the money for? Huff isn't starting. I agree with that. I think they're going to situationally play him. Get this. Nick goes, Reddick did nothing the last 7 games because they were fucking dropping him in coverage. Did you not hear the players say it? I'm doing what they want me to do. They want me upstairs to drop in coverage. Did you not hear that? Or did you miss that too? You were telling me Desai and Matt Patricia sucked. Well, if it sucked for Brian Johnson and it sucked for Jalen Hurts, it sucked for Hassan Reddick too. Did it or did it not? can't have it both ways. Howie's saving money for Nick's new knee pads. Thank you, Flexen. Thank you. Oh, I got it. Senor says Matt Patricia's a horrible coach. So that didn't affect Reddick's last 7 weeks of the season, right? But Brian Johnson's a shitty coach. That affected Hurts, right? Is that what you're saying? Right? Maniac goes, here I am. And Sills is yelling. Yeah, because how East Coast people have to be spoken to is you have to holler and you have to make them hear it, because most of the time, if you sound like some dweeb, they won't listen to you. That's the pedigree of where we're from. Okay? Hey, Nick, you're done. Nick, you're done. See, out west, they talk like this. Yeah, I don't know if the Dodgers are really going to do a lot because that bullpen doesn't look really all that. I don't know. And really, Kershaw's just not the same guy. But I do think Shohei Ohtani and Freeman are going to be okay. But hey, you know what? Time will tell. You know, the Padres are now 24-24. I don't know. No one hears that. No one hears that. Please hit the like button. Keep it up, guys. You guys are doing great. By the way, Joe Theismann's going to join us at 3:30 Eastern Time. Gary Cobb is at a golf event, and I'm being told we're going to get legendary Eagles on. We may even get some legendary New York Giants on, too. So I have no idea who Gary's going to put on. Sills, the problem with Philly was more in tackling department than the sack department. Come on, fool. Understand the basics, please. Yeah, you went from 70 to what, 50? This guy's trying to tell you that he thinks they had no issues with pressure last year. You had one double-digit sack guy. The year previous, you had 4. And this guy's trying to bullshit you guys and tell you that they had great sacks last year from people on their front seven. That's a bull-faced lie. It's an absolute – they were never good tacklers. They've never been. Last 2 years, they were ranked one of the worst tackling teams in the league. But at least you got pressure. You didn't even get pressure last year. So what are you talking about? That's a bull-faced lie. Reddick is a pure pass rusher. He's not a cover linebacker. Why'd you drop him then? Okay? Why'd you drop him? Hardgrave and Cox opened it up for everyone. Yeah, Hardgrave had 11 sacks his last year in Philly. And Fletcher had 6.5. You basically almost had 20 sacks between your starting defensive tackles a year ago or 2 years ago. How many did you have last year between your starters? 9? But there wasn't a drop-off. Okay. Tackling was a bigger issue. A lot of yak against Eagles. And where'd you upgrade that? By going to a 3-4. How have you upgraded that? By putting worse tacklers on the field. Think of that. You've put worse tacklers on the field. Sweat was also terrible in the second half. Yeah, because he had 938 snaps. Year previous, he had 690. Devin White can't tackle? No. That's why he was benched. Carter's going to have a breakout year. I could see this. Yes. So this, yeah, hey, This is the biggest gamble Howie has made. It's not really, well, here's what you're gambling, and here's the gambles that he's made. Tell me if you disagree. Barkley's health at $10 million. Huff will replace Reddick in 24. Gardner Johnson will look like he did 2 years ago coming off an injury. Right? The rookies, I'm not even going to, we'll wait and see how they play. I can't say anything either way on them until I see them in a game situation. So you don't, it's not fair to them, actually, to say anything either way. Okay? And to some extent, the safer things are actually the coordinators. Kellen's put up numbers, scoring and numbers. I just showed you Dak in the last 3 years. Well, shit, 2 of those years were under him. He's 6th in passing yards and touchdowns. Couldn't have been that bad. I do not believe that Jordan Davis is a bust. I think they've been not having him in the right position. I think he's going to a natural position. And if they play him on first and second down and they play him in that role, he'll be fine. He'll be Sam Adams, Via Veda, Vince Wilfork. Players like that, those guys won Super Bowls and were instrumental in stopping the run. Dude, the 2 things the Eagles have to do this coming year, like they did in 1920, they have to run the ball and they have to stop the run. Isn't it funny? 2 things that last year at the end of the season in the second half, they couldn't do either. And that's how the team just is disintegrated. Sills, what's your honest take when you see Jordan Davis? I see a player that's never lived up to his skill set. So what you have to do, Steven, is find a way to utilize like Jim Johnson. Steven, I'll tell you what I truly believe that Jim Johnson would do with a guy like Jordan Davis. He would put him in the best skill set possible. And if he failed at it, that's the player. A coach's responsibility is not to plug and play you in your system. It's to find what that guy does the best. Okay? What he does the best. And to me, put him in first and second down. Put him on a nose. If he struggles with that, put him in a shade. But then again, you don't have the linebackers to be able to handle that because they're the smallest linebacking core in the league. You're kind of at a player deficiency here. Remember, what's the one thing in that press conference Vic Fangio said? You know what it was? Hey, how do you have a good scheme? He goes, good players. And I don't think you have good enough linebacker play. I just don't. I think they want him to look like Calais Campbell, not J.J. Watt. Jordan Davis will never be Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell's got 100 sacks in his career. Okay? Or you're talking about Bryce Huff. Well, I don't know which one you're talking about. Okay? But Calais Campbell's got over 100 sacks in his career. And for you to be talking about a guy like that, he has more sacks than Brandon Graham. So before you start talking about, Calais Campbell may be one of the most underrated ends in pro football that's ever played in the last 20 years. This guy's got 100 sacks. I mean, you don't have – I can't think the last man you've had 100 sacks except for Reggie. Maybe the linebacker guy who was your edge rusher. Maybe he had 100 sacks. Eagles relying on pressure to come from the interior, not from the edge. Well, they're going to have to get pressure from the edge in wide open space. I get this. Bryce Huff, you're not rushing him from the short side of the field. You're going to rush him from the wide side. Milton's already better than Jordan Davis. He's more consistent. Milton Williams has a better chance of being Calais Campbell. Absolutely true. That's absolutely a great take, Dominique. Yes. In 2 years, Jalen Hunt will dwarf Huff in terms of production. Hope so. Hope so. Sills, when is more pressure favored over 10 sack seasons? All the time. You can have a guy have 10 sacks and it won't matter at all when it came to not getting to the quarterback and pressuring the quarterback to not have design routes. And just to show you how that guy doesn't know what he's talking about, Forte, I'll get this to you. Guy gets back there and gets a sack, right? And he has 10 of those. How about a defensive front seven who constantly gets back there and denies the route to develop? You tell me what's more important. Over 65 plays, if your pressure is getting to the quarterback and those routes are not able to develop, what's one sack in a game mean? But if I'm consistently getting hits on the quarterback and pressures in a game, what matters more? Pressures in a game or in hits on the quarterback or 2 sacks or 1 sack by one guy? I'll take the pressure because the routes don't get to develop and also my corners aren't stressed, especially in man coverage or especially in zone coverage that he likes to run. 1 sack from BG won us the Super Bowl. Okay. And you still gave up 575 yards in that game almost. No, you're right. Huff getting 1 sack and no pressure the rest of the game. That'll win you a game. Okay. Sure. That's like telling me a guy has 1 touchdown catch over 10 games. You're out of your minds, man. One of the things that made that Eagle team so great in 22 was the volume of pressure they got. Okay? I'm trying to get to 250 likes. Thank you, guys. By the way, bottom of the hour, we're going to talk to Joe Theismann. We'll ask Joe Theismann that question. Okay? We will. We'll ask Joe Theismann that question. Xander, where are we in the likes, my friend? Appreciate you guys doing this here on this Monday. Thank you, guys. Thank you guys a lot for doing this, man. Okay? Really awesome. Again, but it's been really fantastic the last couple of weeks. Dude, we're at 79. We gotta hustle here a little bit. So let's pick it up a little bit here. I'd like to get to 250 by the end of the program. Joe Theismann's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. George Young won Super Bowls with Hostetler. What the hell does Howie have to do with anything? God, you guys have to get off this guy. What do you mean Howie have to do with anything? It's Howie's players. The coaches don't have any say in who plays at all in any way. No say. All right. Hit the like button. Please, we're trying to get to 250. Joe Theismann's going to join us in a couple minutes. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Do me a favor, please hit the like button. I wrote down the top 32 play callers in the National Football League. Where would you guys rank Kellen Moore? Just curious. Where you would rank Kellen Moore, the new OC for the Eagles. See where I have him. All right. 8th. Top 10, right, JM? He's been fired twice, but he's top 10. 3rd, Senor. I love you guys. That's fantastic. Nick says average. Couple more here. I'm curious. He's at a top 5. Nick, so 5th, right, Nick? Top 10. Niner, top 10. Can't get out of the first round of the playoffs, but he's a top 5 or 3 OC. And 14 or 15 says Lennox Hayes. Oh, Dak and Hurt, even though Dak had a career year last year. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, here's my top 32. I got Dan Pitcher, Cincinnati, 32. Why? Zach Taylor is really the play calling guy. He's just the OC in the building. Number 31, I got the Jets, Nathaniel Hackett. Sorry, man. Yeah, I don't see it. We'll see what happens this year. Number 30, Clint Kubiak, New Orleans. All right, young man. Let's see if you're close to your father. Number 29, New England, Alex Van Pelt. Not awful, but Drake May and Jacoby Brissett. I don't know. Number 28, Zach Robinson, Atlanta. We'll see. Number 27, Rams, Luke Getsby. Not really the play caller. You know? But he's not awful because he's learning from McVay, who is the play caller. 26, Cliff Kingsbury. Washington, probably lower than should be. See what he does with Jaden Daniels in Washington. Number 25, Ryan Grubb, Seattle. Pretty good reputation on the kid. Number 24, Bucks, Liam Cohn. Some really good conversation, Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians had a lot to do with this hire. I want to see what he does. Number 23, full season, Joe Brady. Joe Brady's had an up and down career as a play caller in National Football League. It was a good stretch run. Let's see what he does with a full season. Number 22, Brian Callahan, Tennessee. He got the job because he's a play caller. Number 21, Greg Roman, Chargers. Not a bad play caller, but Harbaugh's going to be making the calls there. Number 20, Shane Waldron. Got a lot on his shoulders in Chicago with Caleb Williams. Number 19, Kellen Moore, Philadelphia Eagles. We'll see. Has done some pretty good things in Dallas with Dak. You know, you guys call Dak a bum. Well, if Dak's a bum, he's a bum. But I don't think that. I don't think he's horrible. But I don't think he's who you think he is. What's he done? Number 18, Arthur Smith, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't make shitty hires. Matt Canada was probably the worst hire that they've had in the last 30 years. Last year's OC. Number 16, Dave Canales, Carolina. Okay, we'll find out. Number 15, Sean Payton, Denver Broncos. I think this is high. Number 14, Mike McCarthy, Dallas Cowboys. Number 13, Doug Peterson, Jacksonville Jags. These are my top play callers in the NFL. Number 12, Brian Dable, New York Giants. Number 11, Bobby Slowkey, Houston, up for many jobs and will be a front runner to be a head coach in the NFL this coming season. Number 10, Todd Monken, Baltimore. Coach the reigning NFL most valuable player. Number 9, Ben Johnson, Detroit. Turned down the Washington and Seattle job. Number 8, Kevin Stefanski, former NFL Coach of the Year. Cleveland did a great job getting the team into playoffs with all those quarterbacks, 5 of them, and coached the comeback player of the year in Joe Flacco. Number 7, Shane Steichen, Indianapolis Colts. Not only did he do a great job with Anthony Richardson, Gardner Minshew got a contract in Las Vegas and was a Pro Bowler, like your guy Hurts. Number 6, Kevin O'Connell, Minnesota. Number 5, Matt LaFleur, Green Bay Packers. Great job with Jordan Love. Number 4, Mike McDaniel, Miami. The Hello Kitty backpacks and the scooters and the electric cars and all that shit kind of like nerve me, but he's eccentric and he's great. Number 3, Kyle Shanahan, San Francisco 49ers. Number 2, Sean McVay, Los Angeles Rams. And the number 1 best play calling head coach or play caller in the league is Andy Reid, Kansas City Chiefs. Those are your top 32 play callers for me in the NFL. And Kellen's at 19. I don't think that's horrible. I got him ranked ahead of, Greg Roman, Kingsbury, Nathaniel Hackett. He's right around Arthur Smith. He's nobody special. That's how I'm looking at this. You know, this will mark the 4th time that Jalen's had a new play caller, too. We're going to hit on that with our friend. I want to read something here to you, though. I've been going through the book here. Joe Theismann's book here, How to Be a Champion Every Day. And I love this. After the final seconds on the scoreboard tick down, the fans may remember a few of your greatest plays. They may remember that amazing play in the Super Bowl, but more than anything, they will remember you. You decide right now how you want to be remembered. Then live every day like you're playing your final game. I would even more so say your final play. And I love stuff like that because, you know, sometimes people look at that stuff and they think of it just being coach speak and it's on a chalkboard. And I just remember being coached by Jimmy Johnson. And I just remember him making all those comments and positive attitudes and never having anything in the building that was negative. But I'll tell you what he did do. Hard work will always supersede anything else, and hard work makes those words come to fruition. You know what Joe Theismann, when he writes those words, those are blind faith words. You have to have blind faith when you listen to a coach. It's like religion. Before I bring Joe on, I stood in front of before we played Notre Dame, I went just like this to our guys. How many people in here are religious? They all put their hand up. I'm religious. I said, well, when you believe in your coach, it's almost like a religion. It's blind faith that he's going to take you to a place that you want to be. You have to believe in it. And I'll tell you what, I'm finding out even more and more about my good friend who is friends with some of my friends. Let's bring in the former NFL MVP, Super Bowl champion, and Monday Night Football host too, our friend Joe Theismann. Joe, how you doing, friend?
I'm good, Daniel. How are you?
Joe, I love the book, man. I keep it right next to my desk. And
Thank you.
Kind of like, I'm going through some stuff. I'll pull a quote out here. I'll start reading some of the things. I mean, you live your life by this, I would think.
I do, Dan, and it's been an interesting life, and I enjoy sharing some of the stories, both those positive things that have happened in my life and some of the other things that, that I did that weren't so positive. And I think that's the way you learn. I mean, I'm not a rear view mirror guy. You've heard me say that. I only look back just to see what I can learn from what happened back there. I always try and look forward and see what you can do. And you've heard me say this, and after my injury is when it really became obvious to me, is that we're not put on this earth to be served, but we're here to be able to serve others. And, mentorships, the ability to be able to help people, that's why we're here. And I think if we use that as a goal moving forward in our lives, we have a chance to have a pretty good life.
You know what? I heard Tom Brady the other day mention something about being a teammate. And he goes, the reason that you play long in this league is because it was so imperative for me to be the best possible teammate I possibly could be, because I get all the accolades, I get all the money, I get most of the fame, I get all of this. And being humble, Joe, and being a good teammate, in his eyes, was the most important thing that he could stress to young players. And I look at Jalen and I look at a lot of the young players in today's NFL. Do you see that trait being exhibited enough by some of the younger players that go in today's NFL?
I think, Dan, I think it's a great question. And I think what the interesting part of it is, I almost think it's too early to tell with young guys, because they're really trying to just focus on becoming, number one, a professional. How do I become a professional? What are the habits I have to adapt? What are the things I need to do? What are the things I need to work on? And, this is something Mike Tyson told me at an autograph session about 3 or 4 years ago. We were talking about life, and it fits into this category. And he said, Joe, if you don't find humility, life will find it for you. and I don't believe any truer words have ever been spoken for so many of us. And I think Tom has just such a great perspective. I mean, nobody worked harder. Nobody tried to be any better than Tom. I mean, he put everything into it. And that's where you become a good teammate. Our job is to try and help other guys go to greatness. And we're just sort of facilitators at the quarterback position. And I think Jalen, making the decision to leave Arizona State, going to LSU, the relationships down there, Mike Denbrook, who became the offensive coordinator, just really, I think, tipped the scale for him to go there because of the type of person he was. This is the thing that I think happens at the combines that's more important than anything. I don't care how fast you run a 40. I don't care how much weight you lift. I care how you throw a little bit, but what do you like as a person? How much time can you spend with a young man and find out what kind of a person you're dealing with? The movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner is a pretty telling story about some of the process that you go through when it comes to the draft. Who are you adding to your football team? What is the type of, what's character? Character is who you are, Dan. Reputation is who people think you are. And I think, and Tom, Tom has such a great grasp of this game. It'll be interesting to watch him as he starts his broadcast career.
Are you more drawn, Joe, because of your type of journey, like a Warren Moon journey, a Jaden Daniels journey, where, first round draft choice, and not that he's not a first round draft choice. Obviously, Washington takes him with the number 2 pick, but are you more drawn to those kind of guys? Because when you came out of Notre Dame, you had to go through a different journey. Hell, Joe, you were on a kickoff team. I mean, you were actually running down guys because you had Kilmer, probably Jurgensen was there and all that. You're running guys down. So are you more drawn to, like, say, even like a Jalen Hurts who had his job taken away? He had a transfer. He had a second-round pick. He had to go. Are you more drawn to that because it's a better litmus test on who that guy is and where he's been and where he wants to go?
Not necessarily drawn to it, but I certainly can understand what they're going through and the process that they went through to get where they are. But I mean, you look at Troy Aikman, you look at Peyton Manning. It doesn't matter where you're drafted. I like to get to know the person. If I can get around the person a little bit and get a feel for how they feel about the game, their aptitude towards the game, their willingness to be able to learn about the game, then you can start to get an idea what type of a young person you're dealing with. And you can almost sit and say, what are their chances of success? There aren't me people that make it in this game, Dan. It just doesn't work. There's too many people that rely on you, and you rely on too many other people. So it has to be about being a part of the puzzle, not the entire puzzle. And I think no matter where you start, look where Tom started. Skinny kid, confident individuals. You look at different guys that have come into this league and said, "Hey, look, I'm the best thing you ever did," or "I'll be your quarterback." And if fate works it out that way, if injuries give you a chance to be able to prove your abilities, if the opportunity presents itself, you have to be ready. But no matter where you're drafted, I can relate to some of the journeys that some of these young guys have gone through, but I want to see what they're like when they get here. Now all of a sudden, see, too many guys think that becoming a professional is the end. It's not. It's the beginning. You've worked your life to get to this dream moment. Now, what are you going to do with the dream moment? Are you going to take advantage of it, or are you going to think that you deserve to be here and let that moment pass you by?
Joe, I'm going to expose something here to you here that it's funny. I got drafted by the Bucks as a 56 player taken. My first day with that helmet, I look up at my locker and I go, "What's next?" and you strive your whole life to get to that moment, right? And you're kind of lost for a brief moment there. And like, where you're drafted matters, Joe. When you go to a place like Washington, back when you had all those veteran guys, or when you go to a place that's been a consistent loser, how much does that really matter? And again, I hate to sound like my environment became part of the problem, because I went from Miami, where I never lost, to a place where I lost 13 games in one season. Joe, right. That's more losses than I had in my entire high school and college career at one time.
Yeah, but see, Dan, this is the important thing. What you just said is so important to understand. You went someplace where you never lost. Now you're someplace where you're losing. It can't be about this is something I would impress on every young person. It can't be about you. You were part of a team in Miami that never lost. You wound up in Tampa with a team that was struggling and they lost. Too often you place that burden on your own shoulders. It's like, hey, I'm not in this environment anymore. Oh my God, look at the environment I'm in. To me, if you know why you were part of a winning environment, you observed what went on. That's why you do what you do today. That's why you're so wonderful and knowledgeable at things you shared. But then you also understood what you looked at on a football team of why you weren't successful. So, and it's, everybody sort of tends, this is such a me world. It's such an I world. It's, I left this, I went from there, I went here, but it's actually the team. We're the greatest team sport there is. I mean, there isn't anyone that relies more on everybody because there's so many numbers that are involved than our game, I believe. And when I didn't mean to interrupt you. When you said I went from here, it just rang a bell for me that it isn't an I, it's we, and we didn't do this and we didn't do that. And how do I get better to help us get better? Those are the way you have to, especially at the quarterback position. It's the most dependent position on the field. You've heard me say this, gosh knows how many times have we done shows together. You rely on the line. You rely on receivers to catch the ball. You rely on defense to stop people. You rely on running backs to get you yardage. You rely on kickers to win games. You rely on everybody at this position. And if you're fortunate enough to be around a great bunch of guys, coaches, and a staff that's special and a system that fits you, then you get to enjoy some of the success that the team enjoys. And at this position as a quarterback, you automatically get the praise that goes with it.
Joe, tell me how important this is. I mean, let's see now. First it was Nick, then it was Shane Steichen, then it was Brian Johnson. Now he's got Kellen Moore. This will be his fourth coordinator. I'm talking Jalen Hurts in 3 years starting, going into now his fourth season. Having a different voice in your ear. You had Joe Gibbs, and obviously one of the greatest, if not the greatest coach. You can make the argument 3 different guys win Super Bowls. It wasn't one guy tied to one guy. He was a system in itself in developing of quarterbacks. Even worked in Tampa a little bit. Mm-hmm. With Doug, you tell me how hard is that to overcome when you're getting not a different message, but a different direction each and every single year?
It's interesting. In this day and age, I don't think it's as difficult because you have guys with the portal. They've got people, since basically their sophomore year, they got a guy like Bo Nix. How many people have been in his ear? And Jalen did it. Remember, Jalen was at Alabama, then he was at Oklahoma. Right. So, I mean, it's the X's and O's, the ins, the goes, the outs, they don't change. Just the terminology. So if you're a good linguist, if you can learn languages, you can assimilate pretty easily and the other thing you can do to a degree is you can take what the new coach is teaching and your mind begins to work like, well, this was like where I was before. For Jalen, it would be like, well, this system that with Kellen there, this particular play, which it was called different, is similar to what we ran before. And then you start to put that together, and it really broadens your language more than anything. But I think having the ability to adapt and adjust is very important. And the other thing is, you want to get the ball out of your hands in a very timely fashion. Now, coaches aren't going to put plays in there where you got to hold the ball a long time. Not in this league anymore. No. You better not hold it a long time, or else you're going to be holding on to it while you're lying on the ground. That's just the way it is.
You know, Joe, tell me. For you, because you were a mobile guy before your injury, you were a mobile, and even after a little bit too, when you got back going there, you were a mobile. When you're out there and a guy like Joe Gibbs calls a play, and I think Jalen needs to be more assertive, because you even hear Andy Reid saying, hey, he's got free autonomy to change the play. Yeah. If he doesn't like something that he sees, you have the best vision of what you're looking at when you're trying to make a play work here. How difficult was that for you to go, well, no, we're going to audible out of that, and we're going to go into this? Because Did Joe Gibbs give you that autonomy to do that? Or was that something that you and him had to have a conversation about after the game if you did do something about that?
The reason I'm laughing is because Coach Gibbs called plays and Joe Theismann ran them. Okay, this was not a democracy. All right, this wasn't like, well, what do you think, Coach? But actually, during the week, every now and then, he would put something up and say, what's your thoughts? But not very often. Joe had a very specific plan. I had marching orders, but see what he did. This was the genius of Joe. The way he would build the offense for us, or the way he would build the routes for us, I had 5 places to go with the football. Now, it was on my shoulders to figure out which way to go based upon what the defense did. So it was a question of reading the defenses. And what we did is, and then Joe Bugle, our offensive line coach, and those 5 guys up front, when it came to outside and counter tray and the running game that we had, they made the adjustments. They slid to the backer. They went to the next level. They double teamed at a point of attack. So it was those things by the guys up front, me being able to figure out which one's supposed to get the ball. But the concept was all Joe's. It was all there. This is what we're going to run. Now, if we get this, go here. If we get that, go here. If you get this look and we got an outside play call, I did have the ability to be able to get out of basically what would be a disastrous play into something that we thought would be a little bit better, but on a very limited basis. And he was so creative. I mean, we had plays for the Super Bowl 17. We put in what was called an explode package because we knew Miami would match up corners on wide receivers, linebackers on backs, and tight ends. So what he did is he had everybody in different positions when we got down around the goal line. The first touchdown that Alvin Garrett catches is part of an explode package. They were uncertain who to cover. So we managed to hit the fade for the touchdown. And that was, like I say, that was Joe. But fundamentally, as a quarterback today, they give guys at the college level as well a lot more responsibility to get to the line. Well, not even to the line of scrimmage, to get into the gun, take a look at what you've got, and then make a decision. I'm not a big fan. I think, I watched Drew Brees play a lot of years, got more yards than anybody in football. When Sean called plays, Drew ran them. I can tell you this. I would venture to guess that Drew Brees did not have a lot of flexibility in that offense. And that gives you a sense of confidence. There's no indecision. All right. I know what I have to run. There are 5 routes. I got to find the right one. That's the extent of the conversation you have in your head. When you're in the gun now and you see a tackle shaded a little bit inside and you're supposed to run inside, now it's okay, go. And then all of a sudden you change it and he slides back out. If I was a college defensive coordinator, you know what I would, this is to any college defensive coordinator out there, all right? When a team lines up at the line of scrimmage in college and the quarterback looks to the sidelines, shift your defense because the coaches are changing the plays. He's got to change the play. And all of a sudden now you will see more delay of game penalties than you've ever seen in college football in your life because they wouldn't know what to do. Instead of just, hey, this is the basic pattern we're going to run. If the tackle slides over, it turns into a defensive tackle slides over. It turns to a double team at the nose. And then we bring the guard around. If he doesn't, then we'll just single block it, slide the tackle to the next level.
In college, you're told where to throw the ball. In
right.
the pros, you got to know where your pre-snap read is.
You try and anticipate it more. Absolutely.
Yeah, you've got to know this. Joe, it sounds to me that because you didn't really change that many plays or have to change many plays, is that Gibbs was more of a guy who boutiqued an offense to your skill set so that the confidence level would be. And I wonder if a lot of coaches do that. Maybe that's why we're seeing a lot of these younger guys, because back in the day, there wasn't a ton of Joe Gibbses or their Bill Walshes where they would tailor an offense to a Steve DeBerg versus a guy like a Montana. Or for you, it seems that that's what maybe separated those guys back then to where you're seeing more of that today. Is that fair to say why you're seeing more of these younger coordinators?
Not necessarily, Dan. I think coaches will try and tailor it to the talent they have. I mean, let's look at the Tennessee Titans. They were not going to become a throwing football team with Derrick Henry.
No.
But in that regard, whether you go one way or the other, Cliff ran a lot of wide open offense in Arizona. I think you have to find the balance of what you have. Health plays into it. Do I have healthy running backs? Do I have healthy receivers? Do I have a healthy offensive line? Is my tight end capable of blocking on the edge? You know, those are all things that I think you find out as a coach. I think a lot of coaches, you know, you'll get options. It isn't like you've got this 5-play menu. You know, you spend a lot of time in practice. You spend more time in meetings than you do in practices.
Yeah.
Going over looks. If you get this look, this is what you want. If you get that look, this is what you want. But you'll spend a lot of time looking at the film, listening to things as far as meetings go. In practice, you don't get a whole lot of, they don't spend a whole lot of time on the field anymore. Hour 45, some of it's stretching. You get about 30 plays on offense, 30 plays on defense, 60 plays basically of regular offense and defense, infield stuff. Then you get to red zone and goal line and short yardage, sprinkle in another 15, 45 plays, you're done with practice. 90 plays is basically the meat of your practice week. And so to be able to, or try to look for too many things, I think creates confusion, especially with young people. I think I've shared this with you before. Tom Moore, who's one of the greatest people in the world, as well as coaches. I remember sitting with Tom when he first got Peyton in Indianapolis. And he said, there's two things I'm not going to do to Peyton. I'm not going to let him get beat up physically, and I'm not going to let him get beat up mentally. And so he designed routes to get the ball out of Peyton's hand. And with his entire 20-odd-year career, when you always saw him get the ball out of his hands. You never saw him really take a shot. You could probably count on one hand, if you went back and looked at film, how many times Peyton took a shot. Standing there holding the ball and somebody just knocked the living daylights out of him. And you know, that lends to a long career. Tom was the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you know, Marvin Harrison as a receiver. When people got close to Marvin in the middle of the field, if they ran an in route, he'd just go down. What? Why? You're going to take shot after shot. People are going to try and pull the ball away. The object of this game for players is to be able to play in practice every day so you can get better. That's what the object of this game is. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You put on a professional uniform, you're already there. Now, can you stay there? That's the question.
Joe, when did you gain personally your most confidence in that you were established in the NFL? After you won the Super Bowl or after you won your MVP?
Actually,
because they're two different.
Yeah, it is, but you know, it's neither of those. Okay.
Huh.
Interestingly enough, in 1979, I became the starter. 1978, I played. 1979, when we played,
take over for, was it Kilmer?
I took over for Billy. Yeah, Sonny retired. I got there in 74. Sonny retired 75. Billy played 76, 77. Then I played mostly in 78. You know, the early years, because I didn't play, you didn't know. I could throw it around. I felt like I could play, but you never got into game situations. And then there's game situations, and then there's longevity. There's 4 game situations, and then there's 16, 17 game situations where you have to last through. But it's a question of validation. Real quick story. When I was at South River High School, we used to play New Brunswick on Thanksgiving Day. They were a big football team. They lost very few games. We lost very few games. If I played well against them, I belonged in my mind. Then I went to the University of Notre Dame. Played a lot of football there, played 2.5 years there, 2 years and 3 games. And then we played the University of Southern California. They became my barometer by which I measured my abilities. Did I belong as a college quarterback? Was I good enough to be able to play at this level? And then when I became a professional football player, it became the Dallas Cowboys because they'd won championships. They had so many great players. And if I could fare well against them, then I belonged. So I would say, you know, in those years, late 78, 79, when we played the Cowboys and we had success and I personally was able to do some things, that's when I felt like I belonged. Prior to that, I didn't know.
So it was levels. You were climbing a ladder.
Yeah,
and
validation ladder.
The validation ladder you were climbing.
Yeah, you know, and I think people look for validation in your life. It's like, you know, you and I do a show and somebody says, "Man, Dan, that was some great questions." There's validation. You know, you feel, you go, yeah, that feels good, man. Got another great guest coming up. Got to talk to somebody, and I just come off of some really good questions, and you move on. I think our life is a series of validations to a degree.
I like learning different things about you each and every single time that we get you on, and it's a great testament on how the quarterback mind works too. Because I always wonder. I mean, like it always looked like Brady was chasing the never-ending finish line. It just was like that finish line, Joe, that it's never going to happen for him. He's never happy with anything. I think sometimes you guys are the most miserable people on the planet because quarterbacks, how in the world can you be happy when you have so much? It's almost like sometimes, Joe, the quarterbacks in today or the quarterbacks that have had great success like Peyton and Brady, yourself, you guys never look up. And when you look up, that's probably when it's over.
And you think when you get off,
so much.
And then when you get off the field, you think you get a break, but you really don't.
Right, because then you're back in the meetings.
There's nowhere to run and hide. There's nowhere to run and hide. It's like here's the game. Oh, okay. Here's more of the game. Okay, I got to wake up. Here's some more of the game. But yeah, it's. I think we've all wanted to chase excellence. I mean, you put the uniform on to be great, not to be good. You know, why just settle for average? I'm not a big fan of average. If you can't do something to the best of your ability and try and be the best, you don't always have to achieve that ultimate goal. But as long as you keep striving, as long as you keep pushing to be the best, it's easy. I got to tell you a little story about that. I just saw LT yesterday at an autograph session. So we were sitting visiting, and I tell this story.
How was that relationship?
Oh, it's fine. I just don't let him stand on my left side where I can't see him. It's, other than that, we got a great. When we play golf, he has to be in my vision. It's just simple. But I remember he had a bar up in a restaurant bar up in Jersey, and he invited me up about 4 years after the injury, and we're sitting there visiting, and they played the injury behind us. And I turned to LT and I said, "Hey, T, look, we're always going to be connected through this injury. We know how it affected me. It ended my career. How did it affect you?" He said, "Joe, I learned a great lesson that night. And no matter how great you are at what you do, it can be over in an instant. And that every day you got to try and be the best you can possibly be. And you can't wait till tomorrow to try and be that good." And to me, I think it's just a wonderful general lesson for people in life is don't wait till tomorrow. Go after your dreams today. And believe me, your dreams can come true. They did for me. This skinny little kid out of South River, New Jersey, went to college at 155 pounds, won a Super Bowl at 185, and played 15 years of professional football and had the greatest experiences of my life because of the people I played with and the coaches I had a chance to play for. That's what you miss. I guarantee you. That's what you missed the locker room just as much as I missed the locker room. The things that took place in the locker room, the interaction, the conversations. And of course, we used to get away with a lot more stuff than they do today. I mean,
social media.
it was the wild, wild west in there. And yeah, we're like a family. Every now and then there'd be a dust up a little bit, but the big boys would come in and separate it and say, "You go to that corner, you go to that corner."
Absolutely. Joe, well, I've always kind of stayed away from that, though. And I've known many people, Jim Burton, all those guys who are on that field that night. You're laying on your back at RFK and you're looking up and you probably didn't know. Everyone else told me that was on the field that day. I've never asked you what were all the things that you'd accomplished, MVP, Super Bowl appearances, wins. And there you are with pieces of your body right there at RFK. I mean, and how did you overcome that? How hard was that to overcome? I've never spoken to you about this. What was that like for you, man? I mean, I don't want you to, I'm sorry I'm asking you, but.
Oh, no, that's okay.
I've always wanted to know.
Every element of my life, every story, there's a lesson that I can either share or something I learned from. That night, first of all, I could hear my leg break. Matter of fact, you could hear it on television. It sounds like two muzzled gunshots.
Guys who were on the Giants told me it was like a bat hitting a trash can.
Yeah, it's like two muzzled gunshots to me. And instantly the body, you find out just how magnificent the body is. From the knee down, my leg was completely numb. I did not see, I was on the ground. I didn't see what was going on around me. Pardon?
Were you in pain?
Pain was excruciating initially. And then all of a sudden I had no pain whatsoever. I don't know how long it lasted, but when the instant it was broken, it was excruciating. And then all of a sudden from the knee down, my leg is completely numb. And I can still, right off my left ear, I see Bubba Tyre, our trainer, and Bubba's kneeling down. I said, Bubba, call my mom, tell her I'm okay. That's first words out of my mouth. And then they start to put me on the stretcher, and they start wheeling me out of the stadium, and I stopped the stretcher because I had heard that Harry Carson was thinking about retiring. So I had him stop the stretcher, turn to Harry. I said, Harry, I understand you're thinking about retiring. He says, yeah, I am, Joe. I said, well, don't you go retiring because I'm coming back. He said, that may be the case, pal, but it ain't going to be tonight. That whole night has a series of stories. I watched when they were putting my leg back together. I had them bring in a black and white TV with a coat hanger in it so I could watch the rest of the game as they were working on my leg. And I love this game so much. I have such a passion for the young guys today. And, I hope that the young guys put everything into this game today so that they can get some of the feeling that I was fortunate to be able to have as a part of a very, very special group of guys. But, there's nothing like putting that uniform on for the first time. Right, Danny? I mean, you put that uniform on, you talk about looking up at the locker.
That helmet, Joe, under my arm, and I'm at Tampa Stadium. We're playing in '87, the Bears. Actually, you broadcast one of the first years of your broadcasting career. You did my Packer Bucks game up at the old Milwaukee Fulton County Stadium. You and some guy up there did a game up there. It may have even been James Brown that you guys.
Actually, it was Tim Ryan. It was my first broadcast, and then I had the good fortune to work with one of the greatest broadcasters in the history of sports, Jack Buck.
Right, and when the planes flew over from MacDill, and it was the first time I cried because I was like, I can't believe I'm standing here on an NFL football stadium, and I just was drafted, and I got my helmet under my arm, and I'm looking up, I'm going. And I said it, Joe, I went, what the F am I doing here? I just could not believe.
It is surreal. It really is
surreal that you just remember the moment that you put that gear on. And then you're like this, holy shit, there's Walter Payton.
Yeah, I know. Well, here's one for you. I got a real quick one for you. So my first start, Kansas City Chiefs here at RFK. So Willie Lanier's the middle linebacker, and Willie used to wear a helmet that had a special shell over the top of it, like a hitting shell. I'll never forget getting up under the center, and all I'm doing is I'm staring at Willie. I'm going, oh my God, that's Willie Lanier. 5-yard penalty, delay a game.
Oh my God. Just a couple last questions for you, Joe, on the modern Commanders right now. Do you like Jaden Daniels?
Yes, I do. I liked him at LSU. Mike Denbrook, who was his offensive coordinator at LSU, was also at the University of Notre Dame previously. So I got to, spend a little time with Mike, talk to him a little bit about Jaden. I like him very much. I like his demeanor. He, everything that I understand is he's a young man who's willing to learn. He understands that he has to learn. That's vitally important. People say, well, he's 6'4", he's 210, he's thin. Hey, Tom Brady was no, giant of a guy. I mean, he's narrower now than he was when he played. But I think you learn to protect yourself. You learn how to slide. You learn to run out of bounds. I tell young quarterbacks this all the time. Your number one job is to be available to play in practice, because then you get better. You're not going to learn anything standing on the sidelines. You're not going to learn anything in the training room. Out on the fields where you're going to learn everything. And so every snap you can take, every minute you can look at yourself on film and have yourself and the coaches determine what you need to do to get better. And so, I think he's that kind of a young man. And of course, Sam Hartman is here as well. Notre Dame quarterback from a while ago. And Jeff Driscoll, I believe, is also here. So I got a pretty young stable of guys, and it looks like about 50% of this football team is going to start for the Commanders that hadn't been on the team before. They'll be young. They'll be new. I think Dan Quinn's an incredible coach. There's a great sense of energy and enthusiasm. They're going through OTAs now, and I think everybody's excited about where this football team's going to go.
You know, I had Herm Edwards on, and Herm loves Jaden Daniels because
he had him at ASU.
He had him at ASU, and he came into the office and said, Coach, I got it. And he goes, I want you to. He goes, Dan, this guy here is so aware of his surroundings and what he wants to do. I mean, he's prepared. He's like, from what I heard, and then I even heard Dan Quinn these last couple of days saying he's got a plan for everything, Joe. He's like, he's compartmentalized everything. His practice, his how he watches film, how he eats, how he goes out of his way with his teammates. So he's kind of departmentalizing all of this. And I think that's great because that shows me a guy with a plan.
You know who's just like that?
Tom Brady.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins, right?
Kirk has his day down to the second.
Have you been surprised by his career?
Pardon?
Have you been surprised by his career?
No, not at all.
Played the way he has, because he's been outstanding.
Not at all. I'm not the least bit surprised. When I was broadcasting preseason games when Robert Griffin III was drafted in 1 and Kirk was drafted in the 4th round. And Kirk, coming out of Michigan State, was just ready. He reminded me of Luck when he came out. I mean, you could just see that they were ready. I mean, they got the ball out of their hands. They read the defense quickly. They made good decisions. That's the way Kirk was coming out of state, and it's the way he went through his career. And I don't know if he has sent the general manager. I'm trying to think of who it was that told him that he needed to prove more. So Kirk wound up leaving and going into a $300 million rest of his career. God bless him. Good
350. For him. He's made more money than Brady as a starting quarterback.
That's yes. But and Kirk I think Kirk was ready from day one. And you know what? When you watch him play the game today and go back and watch him early in Washington, you don't see a whole lot of difference. The ball comes out as quick, makes good decisions, knows how to protect himself. I mean, the Achilles wasn't a hit. Right. It was just one of those things. It's like the same thing with Aaron. It wasn't a hit. It was a movement. But Kirk was like that. Every minute of the day was laid out and still is to this day. And, I just hope he has a lot of success. I think Atlanta's going to be a much better football team than they were. They're pretty good defensively. Their receiving core is the tallest I've ever seen in football. And I just want to see Kirk be healthy, be strong. I think they'll win that division. And Arthur Blank is just a special kind of a man. So I'd like to see it happen for him too.
Tom Brady, you mentioned it, and I have to ask you, was it hard for you? Because I know talking to Troy Aikman, when he first got into the booth, he said, ripping our boys and ripping our friends was kind of one of the harder things that I had to overcome, was sitting there starting to talk some trash and some people, and I had to be critical. And I remember telling Troy, you're going to lose friendships when you do this because not everybody's going to be able to take it. Remember, you know what a locker room is. And so I'm wondering how Brady's going to be able to do that, because Tom loves, he's a great teammate.
Yeah.
Joe, was that hard for you to have to be with criticism when you were doing Monday night?
Well, Dan, I think the criticism part was taken care of with Tom when you watch the roast. Okay. I don't, none of that will be on regular. None of that will be on regular television. I promise you that. But I think all of everything was sort of understood. No, what was interesting to me about that was, first of all, you have to learn to talk in sound bites. You can't go rambling on to try and explain stuff. But my mom told me a long, long time ago, and I quote it in the book. I call them momisms. It's never what you say, it's how you say it. In other words, I wouldn't call it criticism. I would call it analysis of a play. So let's say one of the guys he plays with, let's say Mike Evans runs the wrong route. Because, Tom basically will understand what's going on. That's one of the advantages of the young guys getting in. They know the systems. Sometimes it's a disadvantage because you almost know too much. So let's say Mike runs the wrong route. And Tom say, well, and he blew that route. No, there was a way of presenting it, saying it looks like he tried to anticipate where the quarterback was going to go, and the quarterback might have changed at the last minute. It's if you want to call it a criticism, it's not. It's just an analysis of the play. That's why we're called analysts, not criticizers.
Absolutely. Joe, I leave you with this. My uncle who coached your team, or my uncle who played for Lombardi when he was an assistant coach in New York, Andy Robustelli, was given a card by Lombardi. It said, "We are going to do everything in our power to strive for perfection, knowing full well we'll never reach it.
Right.
But we're going to learn to live with greatness." And I have that framed, and it makes me think now even more so of you. And I'm so glad that you're doing things outside of football, your restaurant. You're working with my friend Todd Cowell now in this new venture that you have, working with the
Looking
NBA.
for safety in the game, right?
By the way, I gave him Adam Silver's cell phone and his email address. I said, "Hey, who would have thunk?" I go, "If you knew Theismann, Todd, I would have given you more info on some of the guys in the NBA. But now that I know you know Joe, we're in." I've known those guys. I work for those guys, believe it or not.
Great guys. Great guys.
Love those guys.
Great concept, too, we're working on. Someday we can get into that.
Absolutely. Joe, thank you so much, my friend, for always finding time. You're absolutely, truly one of my dear friends, and I thank you again. God bless you, my friend. We'll talk soon.
I enjoy it always, Dan. Thank you for having me.
You bet. The great Joe Theismann. Absolutely sensational talking to Joe. Please do me a favor, folks. Make sure you hit the like button. We will have Gary Cobb coming up, too. Our friend from Fox 29 in Philadelphia. He's at a golf tournament. Now, there's going to be a bunch of guys there with the with the Eagles, I think Giants, and maybe even former Redskins are going to be there too. So we appreciate it. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
else? Please hit the like button. Sandra, where are we on the like list right now? We got to get to 115, way behind, guys. Got to get to 250 at least. Minimum, please. Guys are on a roll right now. 250 would be great. Getting us there. I appreciate Joe Theismann. Our friend Gary Cobb's going to join us from Fox 29 here in a second. Please hit the like button. Looks like Tyler Steen today took first team reps at right guard. If that kid turns out to be good, they're deep there. Because I think Mekhi Becton could play that guard spot. So you would have Trevor Keegan, and you would have Steen, and you would have Mekhi Becton potentially in that right guard spot. That would be great if you're able to do that. Okay? I mean, I hope this kid Steen turns out to be great. I really do. I thought Joe Theismann was sensational. By the way, Angelo Cataldi will join us tomorrow. Gary Cobb's going to join us at the bottom of this hour too, by the way. So we appreciate that report. I'm hoping Steen turns out to be a really good player. Haven't seen it yet, but we shall see. Looks like the Jacksonville Jaguars are working on a massive contract for Trevor Lawrence. Now that I looked at those numbers the last 3 years on Jalen Hurts, you're clearly going to give Trevor Lawrence a big-time contract. Where Jalen fits in, I mean, you're talking about a guy over the last 3 years that is now 7th. And he's rated 7th. And he's rated the 7th best quarterback over the last 3 years. Trevor Lawrence is going to sign a $55 to $60 million contract. Okay? Because now when you look at it, he's superior to Hurts. Numbers dictate that. You don't need more than 51 games to determine that, do you? Hurts has played 51 ball games. Started 51 of them. You know who he is. Okay? You know who he is. Outside of Mahomes, who's won more than Jalen? Josh Allen. That number is Mahomes 36, Allen 35, Hurts 33. So Josh Allen. That's who's won more. That's who's won more. Oh, in the playoffs? Brock Purdy. Anything else? Brock Purdy. You get this. Just like when the Joker's sitting there, and some of you guys, you look at the Joker and you go, you have nothing. You have nothing. Nothing. Oh, I see LJ's in here. So let me revisit this. This is a really great one. I was going to do it at the top, but why not now? Look at this here. Here's who you have. So Jalen Hurts has averaged 3,567 yards and 64.7 quarterback rating, 20 touchdowns and 10 picks in the last 3 years. That stinks. That ain't 50 million. Mahomes obviously has thrown the most yards. Allen's second. And he's thrown the most touchdowns. By the way, Jalen Hurts has thrown 61 touchdowns. Allen has thrown 100. Allen's thrown 47 interceptions. Mahomes 39, only 8 more INTs has he thrown than Mahomes. Only 8. How's that possible? He's won more, he does more, and he's better. Shit, Jared Goff is. Dak. Lawrence. Cousins. Tua. Last 3 years. You can't make an argument. You cannot make an argument. Numbers ain't the only thing that matters. Okay? You're right. Being in a tough conference, playing against really great players and quarterbacks. You see, again, this is what you guys will do. Josh Allen loses to Mahomes in a playoff game. You lose to Baker. And you think that's the same. Or you beat Dimes Jones. And you think that's the same when he beats Burrow. He's won more, higher win percentage, and he's done more. I don't know. You imagine Josh Allen in Philly? And he's got more wins. Get this. Make excuse. There's no excuses for having more wins. That's not an excuse. He has more wins. Joseph, Josh Allen will never be in a Super Bowl. Okay, so you're trying to tell me you think that Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Warren Moon? Moon never got one, too. He never went there. You think he's going to be better than Warren Moon? Shit, he's not better than McNabb. Hey, do me a favor. Before you start comparing Jalen Hurts to Josh Allen, make sure he's better than McNabb. Because he's not. All those numbers Allen got and what nothing hurts don't need those type of numbers to win. Dude, can you imagine if you had a guy who just was Jared Goff? What would Jared Goff do in that Eagle offense, you think? Xander makes the point, well, he's gotten to a Super Bowl. Kaepernick has gotten to a Super Bowl. You don't really believe that Kaepernick was going to put up consistent numbers and help his football team consistently get to a Super Bowl with that style of play. He wasn't. Golf is trash. Well, just got a $53 million annual deal. Been to 3 conference championship games. Won one, went to a Super Bowl. He's trash. Huh. We debate tomorrow. Hurts clearly proven he can get us to the promised land. Good luck. Good luck with that, dude, especially the way you're coaching him now. Kellen Moore will make no significant impact on that guy. 0. He's not a good play caller. Well, he's a decent play caller. We'll see. You got a decent play caller and a decent passer. Now, as I've said to you numerous times, if you're going to coach him like you did in 22, that's a different conversation. But it's not. We debate. What's the debate? He's had 51 games. He's had 51 games. Shit, even Purdy's 5-2 in the postseason. He said 52 games. How many more games does he need? This is a telltale year. Jeez. So after 70 games, we'll know. Oh, gee, just in the nick of time. 70 games. Wait, am I right? How many games? 60. He's played 62 games. And he started like 51 regular season, if I'm not mistaken. So you're trying to tell me you don't know who you have after 50 games. It's going to take you another 17 to figure out who he is. Hurts is still developing, Sills. Well, shit, 70 games? You really need 70 games to know whether or not you got a guy. Shit, Buffalo knows they got a guy. 70 games. And he averages 3,500 yards. He's proven he's a winner. Okay. Imagine, all I'm saying is, imagine if you had somebody better. I'm with Emmanuel Acho. He's a fine player. I agree. You can get to Super Bowls with average quarterbacks. Rex Grossman, Jake Delhomme. Whom else? Pick one. There's been a ton of shitty ones that have gotten there. Yeah. For the second MVP. I know. Jalen Hurts will have a better season this year than Josh Allen. He's never had a better season. Dude, it's not even close. Well, 2022, I forgot. The last 51 games that he started has been what? Has been what? I don't give a fuck what you say, JM. Shtick? Shtick is not this. I don't sit around writing numbers down for shtick. It's a waste of my time. Shtick? Dumbest sports talk people on the planet have bullshit shtick. I'm not even sure what that is. I'm not that smart. Shtick? I'll show you what a shtick is. Go watch Stephen A. That's shtick. Right? Hurts has the address to the promised land. He ain't got the key. Whoa! Yeah! He asked us for a wait a minute, Jared. Wait a minute here, Jared. I'll just say this to you. If you liking the show is determined on me saying what you want to hear, you can fucking leave. Sorry, that's for IP in 97.5. That's not going to happen. You have me pegged wrong. I'd rather have no likes than that bullshit. Wrong dude. Hey, I'll listen to your show if you tell me what I want to hear. Okay, CNN. Jalen doesn't lose that Super Bowl. Eagles were up 24-14 at the half after the fumble. I thought he played great in that game. Okay? My guy about to end his own career. I know. After 40 years, I know. It's been this close after 40 years of broadcasting. I know. Damn. About to end his career. Been doing it for 40 years, guy. Really? Saying that stuff for 40 years. Josh Allen wish he could fumble it in the Super Bowl. Dude. This is, listen, I hear people on my network, they love the kid. My personal conversation about your quarterback has nothing to do, but I'm sick and tired of listening to people go, well, he's going to have a bounce back. You've had 51 starts. You don't know who you have? You don't know who you have. You don't know who you have. Isn't it funny? Everybody else has great years and has been great the last 3 years. Hurts was great one time in 3 years. And everyone else has been fabulous. Devontae Smith's been fabulous for 3 years. The O-line has been fabulous for 3 years. AJ's been great for 2 years. Everyone's been great except him. You seem to get this. Look at Corey, what Corey just said. You seem to think 2023 defines Hurts. Xander, can you put that up there for me? And you think that 2022 defines him, right? So wait a minute. You seem to think 2023 defines Hurts. So you're saying that 2022 then doesn't define him. Is that right? Okay. So 2022 doesn't define Hurts. What does? What does? If 2023 doesn't define him, 2022 doesn't. James, 2022 didn't expose him. It showed us what his skill set was. And the Eagles are afraid of that skill set not lasting long enough to build a team around him. That's the problem. 2022 is not going to allow them to build a team around him. 2023 is. And if he doesn't do it, it's ready-made for someone else. I'm saying he gets closer to 22. How can he get closer to 22 when they're not going to coach him that way? You're talking like he can't get better. He's not going to get better. He's not going to get better. You know why he's not going to get better? They're not coaching him to what he does best. All these new OTAs that they're putting in. Let me explain to you what's being done right now in these OTAs. I heard John and Xander talking about this. You know what they're doing in OTAs right now? They're putting as much technique and terminology, especially with the young guys, as possible. And you know what they're doing right now? On a chalkboard. By the way, Gary Cobb's going to join us from a golf event. There's going to be some legendary Eagles I'm hearing join us. Do you know what goes on? They're going to put a list together. Who retained the most? That's who Vic Fangio is going to start looking at as being guys that they're going to put, especially on that defensive side. Yeah, man, this guy really did a great job retaining information. He's practicing well. This guy here, let's see where we can go with him. And you're going to start gaining trust with people who retain the knowledge that you're giving them. Those are the guys that you go with. Those are the guys that the coaches are looking at. Hey, they're going to put 10, 15 trillion plays in. What 11 guys are going to retain the most? Who understands the concepts that we're asking? Who is a person that you don't have to tell 17, 18 times to, that will get lost in coverage or get turned around like Reed Blankenship? Those are the guys they're looking for right now. Cooper DeJean, what's he like when you have to throw knowledge at him? Now, look, I'll tell you two things that favor Quinton Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. You know what that is? They played zone defenses in college. That's going to help them a ton in some of the concepts. Marcus Dunn, Sills, who you got, Baker Mayfield or Hurts? Well, they're 1-1 against each other. So, I don't know. That's kind of a coin flip. Since you use the fact that he beat Josh Allen, I'll use some of your thoughts. Well, he's 1-1, so I don't know. Do I have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? I don't know. I got Todd Bowles. I don't know. Games in Tampa. I got Mike Evans. Yeah, nobody's going to cover Mike Evans on your Eagle defense. Let's see what happens. I don't know. So if we go by your mentality, he's 1-1 versus Baker. So I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up. No? Oh. That's right. I forgot. You didn't play Tampa in week 1. You played New England. 23 doesn't define Hurts. It defines how poorly that they were coached. No player accountability by you, Mark? Mark, no player accountability? It was all coaching and no Jalen. No accountability by him, right? According to you, Mark? Okay. They did not fire Brian Johnson just to coach him like 23. It will be different. Corey, name me one quarterback that Kellen Moore's coach that's an RPO coach or RPO quarterback. Can you name me one? Name me one. Name me one. They're going to coach him to throw the ball. They want him to play like 23 with a better play caller. That's what they want. That was really great listening to Joe Theismann. I really did dig it. You know, I haven't had a chance to talk to Gary Cobb from Fox 29 when it comes to the schedule that came out last week. And he's at a golf event. And, oh, by the way, Xander, did you get that picture? Do you have that USC picture of Gary Cobb when he was there at Southern Cal? Holy cow! Did you see the do? Let's see, man. I mean, did you get that picture? Actually, that was one of the greatest football teams in USC history. Hold on here. I want to show you this. Let me show you this G Cobb picture here. Look at this thing here. Look at G Cobb. Look at G Cobb right there, man. Marcus Allen's on that team. Holy cow, let me make that bigger. Look at a do there, man. Holy cow. Let's bring in Gary Cobb here, man. How you doing? Look at G Cobb right. That is the 1973 or 74 program that was sent to me by Kiki Ellison. Kiki Ellison's he goes, show your boy Cobb this one.
Yeah. Hey, that's Ricky.
Ricky Ellison, excuse me. He goes,
Yeah.
show this to your boy Cobb.
Yeah, well, Ricky came in there, a young fella, freshman. Him and Chip Banks, we were all linebackers. Larry McGrew. We had a lot of players, man, and we had a lot of fun because we pushed each other, and it was very competitive. And the guys were winners, and that's why so many of the guys had success on the pro level. Is you learned how to do the thing the right way there because we had coaches. They weren't babying you. They wouldn't kick you in the butt.
Is it true, Gary, that Marcus Allen was the fullback for Charles White that year when he won the Heisman? So he was a fullback.
Yeah, he was a fullback.
Charles White was the running back.
Well, really, Marcus Allen came there as a defensive back.
No,
but they looked at the defensive back. We had Ronnie Lott at safety. He played safety. Now Marcus would come up and hit you. But we got Ronnie Lott, we got Dennis Smith playing safety. So they're going like, well, you're not going to play here. So they moved him to offense, and they were looking for a place to play him. So they said, well, we'll stick you in here at fullback, and maybe eventually, you'll be a running back, halfback. And that's what happened. But originally, they didn't have a place to play Marcus.
Gary, how important is it these OTAs with these new coordinators? First day of OTAs were today when you had the rookies and veteran guys that are on the field together. As I know, they're going to inundate them with a lot of terminology and such. How important, though, are these? Because it looks like there's an extra couple of them that have been added before the mandatory. How important are these?
I think that it's very important, especially if you're going to get anything out of these young guys in the first year, first 2 years. They don't just need to learn. They got to be able to have a grasp of really in depth of really what they're doing, and they have the understanding well enough to where it's just flowing. So you're giving them a taste of it now. Now, unfortunately, you're going to find that some guys they're not going to be able to pick it up in that short period of time. See, and then you try to have some guys maybe stay over there later, and to get fed it more and more and more. Some guys are quicker and they're smarter, and amazingly, sometimes you have some guys in football who aren't the smartest book-wise, but they're smart football players. And then, I've seen it where, in fact, I played with a guy, there was a time, I think he went to Yale, but he was a dumb football player. Even though he went to Yale, come on, but he was a dumb football player. So sometimes it's really funny the way it works, but the big thing is it's going to be the guys that grasp things quickly because they don't have a lot of practice time in the NFL anymore. It's not where you're going to go into training camp and get 6 weeks of 2-a-days every day and get all these reps. It's not like that anymore. They need somebody who's got to pick the stuff up and be able to go out and play fast in a short period of time. And that's why this is very important for the rookies. I got a chance to look at them a little bit when it was just the rookies over there. But now with the vets there, it's really going to be important, that they're able to pick up, what the new defense, the new offense, but the new defense mainly is where they're going to be looking for young players to step in immediately.
How about this one, Gary? This is Bryce Huff the last 4 years. 16 tackles, 2 sacks. 14 tackles, 2 sacks. 6 tackles, 3 sacks. Last year, 29 tackles, 10 sacks. Here's Hassan Reddick. 63 tackles, 12.5. 68 tackles, 11. 49, 16 sacks. Last year, 38 tackles, 11 sacks. One guy's 25, the other guy's 29. Do you believe Bryce Huff, does he come to equaling? Because if you have any drop-off from Hassan Reddick, this was a Howie Roseman failure gamble. If you don't get the same production, do you think he produces as much as Hassan Reddick did?
Well, really, whatever I say doesn't really mean much to me because I haven't really studied him. I don't know how exactly they're going to utilize him. Are they going to have him dropping a lot? I don't know. So I can't say that I have a great feel for that, but I know Hassan would have given you 10 sacks. See, that's the thing. You let him go. All I can say is I think Hassan would have given you 10 sacks. Now, is he going to give you 10 sacks if people focus on him a little bit? I'd have to say I doubt it, because he's done it in 1 year. I haven't looked at the tape of, to see in the Jets, in their schedule and what happened last year. Were there any giveaway sacks where you could get at the end of a game and get 2 or 3 cheap sacks where somebody trips or something happens where you don't really earn it? So we're going to find out, and it definitely is something the Eagles have taken a chance on, because Hassan, they knew what they were going to get out of him. And all while he's been here, he's been very productive. So you're taking a chance with this, and I'd have to say right now it's probably more likely that he won't than he will.
Here's the thing, too, Gary. They keep pimping around that they have $27 million, almost $30 million in cap space. Well, do you really believe that you're going to go out and make a move to find a pass rusher that's going to give you 12 and a half sacks somewhere, where you're going to be able to get a guy for $15 million in the open market? You had the guy. All you had to do was spend the money. So when people say Howie's got one more move left, I think they went cheap on that side of the ball. I mean, why didn't you just keep both of them and pay one of them?
Well, that's what I thought they were going to do. Maybe they're going to pull out of their hat some trick or something. But I was really surprised. I mean, as this is a passing league, you got to stop the pass. One of the keys to stopping the pass is a pass rush. Hassan Reddick was giving you that. And for you to let him go, that's a chance. That's, and then you got this kid that 1 year, he was productive. I don't think you can take that to the bank. I mean, especially with the Jets, they were playing garbage games. Come on, they're playing
right. They were right. That's a great, Gary. That's a great point, that they were behind most of the time.
Yeah.
Right. They were playing. They were playing from behind the most of the time, and team. Right. They didn't have a very good year last year.
You could put in a young quarterback, and he trips coming out from under center. He doesn't know what he's doing. He slides the line the wrong way. He leaves a free blocker. I mean, a free pass rusher, and he gets 2 or 3 or 4 sacks, and he goes from 6 to 10 based on garbage. You got to watch something like that with a team like the Jets last year, who were playing games where you got young players in there, and they're garbage games. What you got, like guys that are playing that normally don't play. They're just playing because they said, well, let him in there, let him play, at the end of the season, where you got games that don't matter.
Last question for you here. I could make the argument, Gary, that Fletcher Cox will be missed more than Jason Kelce. And here's why. Cam Jurgens, I think, is going to be a good ball player. Is he going to be Jason Kelce? No. But who do you have backing up the interior guys? And where's your depth without Fletcher in there? He had 6.5 sacks last year. You could have made the argument he was your most productive interior defensive lineman. Now you don't really have another body inside, where you're really deep in the O-line now, it seems, for the Eagles. I mean, you got Micaiah Becton now. You've got Steen. You've got Trevor Keegan. You've got some of these guys, Jack Driscoll, all these guys. But you know what you don't have? You have no depth. So I can make the argument that that's going to be a really big loss on that side of the ball, not having Fletcher there.
Now, I think you make a very good point. And that's why it's so important. I'm over here at this golf tournament, and of course, a lot of them are talking about Jordan Davis. What is he? Is he going to come in shape? Is he going to be productive, or can they be able to count on him? And really, when you look at the depth on the defensive line, that's where you wonder, are they going to be able to have enough to be a dominant group, to be somebody's able to both stop the run and put pressure on the quarterback, because Jordan has really shown you he can do that, really. He has not shown you he can be a pass rusher. You have seen that, out of Jalen Carter. You have seen that he can be the kind of guy that takes over a game. We haven't seen that from Davis, and he's got to, both of them got to come in better shape where they're able to play the entire season and everything. But so far, I've seen enough of Carter. I'm a believer in Carter. Davis, I can't say I'm a believer yet. I mean, he hasn't shown he can really affect the game, from the pass standpoint. The way they want to see when they draft you in the first round, they expect you to be able to come in and really make a stamp on the game where you're able to bring pressure as a pass rusher, and he's got to show he can do that.
Absolutely. Gary, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. Hey, I hope I didn't bring any nightmares back with that picture from SC, man.
No. That's all good now. When the guys were wearing whatever those different styles and stuff, of course, the guys would crack on you and stuff because, you had that stuff would be sweating. They give you this gel, But anyway, it's all good. It's all good, man. You got to be able to take a joke.
Absolutely. Love you, Gary. Thank you.
Hey,
Keep hitting them straight.
All right, buddy.
You got it. That's our friend Gary Cobb, Fox 29. Love him. What's Sosa says, hold on. Reddick wasn't productive in his first few years either. I don't know what your point is. I'm talking about you having a guy under contract and you just allowing a guy. And by the way, this guy, Bryce Huff, has been in the league going into his 5th year now. This is his 5th year. I mean, what are you talking about? I'm talking about you having a guy under contract right now, and you've got $30 million. Why didn't you keep him? What are you talking about? Well, are you talking Nolan Smith? Is that what you're saying? That nobody was talking about Nolan Smith. What's your point? You've got a guy that's given you 27 sacks in 2 years versus a guy that's given you 13. Stupid. Why didn't you keep him? Big money. Hey, big money Howie. Yeah, let's debate this one. So Howie's got 30 million. Why didn't he keep Reddick? What's he waiting for? Big trade. With who? Cincinnati? Well, you think that guy in Cincinnati that wants out is going to be 13, 14 million? He's a $20 million a year guy. You ain't getting him for 14 million bucks. Woo! How you doing? One trick pony Reddick. Well, at least that guy's been productive rushing the passer. This guy's done it one time. And like John McMullen said on Birds 365 this morning, I suggest you go back and watch it and like the show. You know what else? You can't have 40%. You can't have a 40% or a 60% or a 70% production to what Reddick gave you. That's a fail. That's a fail. Fail. So this is what we've shown you here today. Hurts has been below average as a passer in this league, his first 51 starts. And Howie Roseman has one of the greatest gambles of all time. There's actually a few of them. Okay? He's gambling that Gardner Johnson will be good like he was 2 years ago, surely not last year. That Bryce Huff is an upgrade, and that Barkley will be healthy. All financial gambles. I will say this, though, to be fair, at least he's taking swings. I don't have a problem. except with the fact that Roseman was cheap on defense. The only person he paid for was Gardner Johnson. It's the only money investment. The rest of them have not been money investments. He theoretically gave Bryce Huff Reddick's contract. It wasn't really an upgrade. It was a lateral move. It was a lateral move. I think pushing Reddick was a much Fangio decision. I do too. I think it had a lot to do with him not wanting to be dropped in coverage. I think it had a lot to do with him just not wanting to be dropped and him wanting to rush the passer. See, that's where Jim Johnson would have came out and said, Sills, Reddick is a mistake. We should keep him the entire time. Well, Raj, you did that with Javon Hargrave. You did that with Hargrave. Not Joe, it's not only stupid because you and nobody knows why he got traded. Well, it wasn't for a new deal. Where's that Hassan Reddick contract extension? I'm still waiting. Where is it? Remember all you were telling me? How he was going to offer him $20 million? Remember that? You guys said, hey, there's a contract on the table. There was never a contract on the table. Where's this extension? That's Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas didn't promise him an extension. The Eagles didn't. Why didn't they keep him? What's the point? You wanted to get 4 years younger and less productive? Think about this. You got 4 years younger and less productive. Those are facts. Howie and Joe Douglas are friends. Did him a solid. Oh, that's right. That's right. Did him a solid because that's what GMs do. Don't you think it's possible the Eagles knew Reddick's attitude would be sour throughout the year because he wasn't given a new contract? Hey, Tony, how did that work out for Javon Hargrave going into a final year of his contract? He played it out and got 11 sacks and made $20 million from the 49ers. And how old was he when he signed with the 49ers for that $20 million annual deal? 29? How did that work out for him? You're making something up that's not true. I do not believe Reddick would have held out. Where was Reddick in the collapse? Crowley, in coverage. In coverage. Crowley, in coverage. In coverage. Huff can cover. No, he can't. No, he can't. Well, he did a damn shit job of it. Yes. That's not a skill set of his either. He's a one-trick pony too. Absolutely. But at least that guy got you 30 sacks in 2 years, counting the playoffs. And he's been a consummate statistical. What has he averaged? Let's see here. How many sacks is this now? There's 13, 27. So 51 sacks in 4 years. That guy's had 51 sacks in 4 years in the regular season. Right? 51 sacks. This guy's averaged 12.7 sacks a year. How many sacks has your guy averaged for 4 years? Let's take a look at that. There's 2. 3.5, 10 equals. Divided by 4. This guy's averaged 4 sacks a year. And that guy's averaged 13. Yeah, that sounds like a good bet. I heard the guys talking about that. I got that this morning from them, and I was like, hang on. 60% of Hassan Reddick? Hoss, this guy only averages 4 sacks a career per year, 4.3. Reddick's had 13. 13 sacks versus 4. Oh, that's a gamble. Oh, shit. That's some gamble. Hassan and Huff had the same numbers coming into their 5th year. Dude, I don't give a shit about any of that. I care what you are right now. Woo! Jets paid Reddick what the Eagles couldn't. Jets are just paying him $15 million. Look at Reddick's first 3 years. What in the wait? He was on the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers, Devin. And those 2 franchises let him go. You traded for this guy and gave him $18 million. So if we're going to go by your mentality, Hassan Reddick outlived his contract. You gave a guy a pay raise who hasn't done anything to prove that number except for 1 year. Is that right? Reddick came to you with at least 30 sacks in the previous 3 years, right? This guy comes to you with 17 in 4 years. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that. It's a good conversation. And by the way, he's only 3.5 years older. Hassan Reddick stats. Let's see here. First 4 years, 2.5, 4, 1, 12.5. So you're saying he's Reddick, right? Now, to be fair, he played in, they dropped him a ton in coverage. By the way, 80 tackles. Okay, that's a good point. They used him differently. That's why jackasses. Okay, here's his first 4 years in the league. Wow, this is even better. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. You guys are right. They played him completely differently. Here's Hassan Reddick's first 3 years in the first 4 years in the National Football League, going to Bryce Huff's. Let's take a look at that, shall we? He had 36 tackles, 4 tackles for losses, and 2.5 sacks. Bryce Huff, 16 tackles, 2 sacks. Second year, Hassan Reddick had 80 tackles, 8 tackles for losses, which led the Arizona Cardinals, and had 4 sacks. Your guy had 14 tackles and 2 sacks, completely dominating him. His third year, 76 tackles with 1 sack, 7 tackles for losses. Your guy had 6 tackles and 3.5. His fourth year, he was 63 tackles, 15 TFLs, led the Arizona Cardinals, who was third in the league in TFLs, and had 12.5. So in his fourth year, his final year, the determining year on why you guys made a move, he had 29 tackles and 10 sacks. In Hassan Reddick's 4 Hold on. In Hassan Reddick's 4th year, he had 12 and a half sacks, 15 TFLs, and 63 tackles. Your guy had 29 tackles, 10 sacks, and 4 TFLs. Looked like Tyson Fury getting knocked out, Devin. That's not even a standing 8. Hey, that's not even a standing 8. Woo! I kicked Reddick off the team. How about your coordinators kicked Reddick off the team? Or your 6 or 7 of them. I love you too, Devin. Thank you. All good, brother. How you hold up that ego with them tiny ankles? Tiny ankles? I don't have tiny ankles there, Reg. Ego? What are you talking ego, Reggie? Are you under the assumption Big Sills has an ego? How dare you? I'm a humble man. I'm a very humble man. I have no ego. I am a very humble human being. Very, very humble. See how it works, getting people worked up with BS. What BS? You tried talking shit to me, making it sound like this guy, Bryce Huff, has done it his first 4 years to Reddick. Reddick was used differently in those other places in Arizona and Carolina. And his numbers dictated. He dominated. It's not even remotely close. Guy was averaging 70 tackles a year. This guy's averaging 10. 10. 10. Apples and oranges. Oh, well, you got $18 million, bro. Goober, Reddick, or Huff could snap their leg in practice and wouldn't know anything till the season is played. This is a team game, not individual stat game. You're paid on your numbers, dude. Those are inside linebacker numbers. They used them different, Devin. I said that. Sills, is Reddick a complete football player that you can't live without? That's a great question, Sean. Sean, that's a great question. Sills, is Reddick a complete football player that you can't live without? Sean, that's a great question. I can live without that. You're right. Sean, that's a great question. But, Sean, ask yourself this. Fair enough. And you're right. You can live without him. But ask yourself this. How about in an extremely limited pass rushing role when you don't have pass rushers on your football team now? Do you think he becomes more vital to your team and those sacks become more vital and the TFLs become more vital when you're limited and you don't have other players picking up the slack? And then you have to rely on Nolan Smith and other people to get you numbers. You know, I can live without him when there's other guys with multiple sacks in a year. Like if you have Sweat with 11 or 10, right? Something like that. You're right. That's a really great point. If not, then he's replaceable. Yeah, okay. But Sean, everybody always asks this question, and it's important, Sean. If he's replaceable, who are you replacing him with? A guy who's less of a talent? Do me a favor, guys. So we're here at 104. Guys, we're behind. Need some help here, man. We're trying to get to 250. Trying to get to 250 likes by the top of the hour. Please hit the like button. When we come back, we'll reset. Maybe I'll make this land a little bit differently for you here with what we talked about here a little bit. I thought Joe Theismann was great. Don't forget also tomorrow, Angelo Cataldi will be with us. We're going to put Xander on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I thought he had such a great job. I don't know what Mark Holmes is going to do. If you guys ran his ass off on Wednesday, I think that's awesome. Hey, you and I can talk shit, right? You and I can go back and forth. But anytime that guy comes on, there's something about him too. He makes me defend you guys. I don't know what that is, but he totally makes me defend you guys. Please hit the like button. Trying to get to 250. Mark is still shaking. Eagle fan. I think you guys scared the shit out of him. He was like in a safe house. Okay? Kyle, you think he's going to be a no-show again? You think he's going to be a no-show? Get this. Never text me. Text Xander. Xander goes, yeah, he's not coming on. I was like, come on, man. Are you kidding? Maniac. All good. Helps the channel grow. It surely does. And you have been here since day one. Guys, please hit the like button. We're going to reset. I can't thank you enough. By the way, you know what makes football great? I don't have to talk about the Mavericks and the T-Wolves. Hey, Mavericks and T-Wolves. Mavericks and T-Wolves. I don't know. Hey, hit the like button. Keep it International Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Sills! Xander, where are we now in the likes count? Have to get to 250, guys. Have to get to 250. We got 45 minutes to get to 250. 161. Wow. Come on, guys. Need your help here. Jordan Poyer, hear that? What he said? What, didn't you guys draft him once? Didn't you guys have that guy? He was in Buffalo. I think he's in Miami now. And he was asked a question about Josh Allen. He goes, best quarterback in the league. So this is nothing like this guy. Never seen anything like him. Never seen anything like him. I was like, damn. He was at his event, though. What's he going to say? He sucks. They should have paid Brian Burns. We don't have any linebackers that could cover tight ends. Don't even have a James Harrison on this team. Well, that's pretty hard to find when it comes to James Harrison. But Brian Burns didn't cost you anything, too. What was it, a 3 and a 5 or a 2 and a 5 to send him down to Carolina? They did cost a pretty big penny, though. It was a $25 million annual deal. Boy, I'll tell you what. They got him and Kayvon Thibodeau on both ends, and you got that all-pro nose in the middle. Personally, I think you got yourselves an opportunity to be the best front. Like, get this. The New York Giants have a better 34 front than the Eagles do by far. Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter versus Dexter Lawrence, Thibodeau, and Brian Burns? No, thank you. I'll take the Giants any day. All three of those guys are Pro Bowlers. They got 3 Pro Bowlers. I mean, there's 3 Pro Bowlers. James Harrison was an animal. Hey, you want to hear something too, Maniac, about James Harrison? If I'm not mistaken, he was cut by the Ravens. And he was even cut by the Steelers. And then the Steelers brought him back. He was cut a few times. And he may have even been an undrafted free agent when he came out of college. Okay? He may have been. Hey, Spinbad, I think the Giants, if you're going to play a 34 in New York with Burns on the end, they're superior to the Eagles front. Superior. With Thibodeau, Burns, and Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence has been the all-pro, not Pro Bowler, but all-pro nose, I think the last 3 years in the NFL. Hit the like button. Helps the channel grow. Thank you, Maniac. You're awesome, man. I mean, but I would, and their linebackers Eagles got a long way to go on defense. That's why these OTAs, in my opinion, are very important. And I'm glad to see that they've added a couple more here. All right. Yeah, Dex is a beat. Dude, he's really great interior. Okay. Niner, thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. That's really awesome of you, man. It won't matter, Seals. Our O-line better than the Giants' D-line. Sean, it's a great comeback. Sean, that's a great comeback. Hey, Sills, they may be great, but whose O-line would you take? Would you take our O-line versus – that's a great comment, man. Would you take the Eagle O-line versus the Giants front seven? I'll take the Eagle O-line. You got me there. Okay? You got me there. I'll take the Eagle O-line over the Giants front seven. Yeah. Now, if it's used right, and you run the ball with, by the way, Barkley's going to want a piece of their ass too. I would run Barkley a lot in those Giant games. You know what I wouldn't do, though? Can I tell you what I wouldn't do? I wouldn't run Barkley a lot in the Meadowlands with that shitty AstroTurf up there. I'd run him down at the link more. Like, I'd give him a ton of carries at the link. I don't know if I'd give him a ton of carries up there in New York, because that's a shot of you getting yourself hurt up there in New York. So I would I would tend to carry and let him carry the mail a little bit more down at Lincoln Financial. Underdog, let's see here. Harrison was short. He was, but he was an absolute he was absolute insane. He was really great. Guys, please hit the like button. We appreciate it. I'm going to try to reset this thing here. Maybe this thing landed wrong here. I appreciate everybody coming aboard. And when I made these comments, and by the way, I already kind of got a heads up for tomorrow. Xander thinks that the Eagles can get back to a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. I do not. And my argument is because it's not what they're asking him to do anymore. They're asking him to be one of these guys, not asking him to be Lamar Jackson. You see, the more Todd Monken plays to Lamar Jackson's skill set and they get him a running back like Derrick Henry, they're not trying to make Lamar Jackson a better passer. They're trying to make him a more effective passer. They don't want him throwing the ball 30 times in a game. The Eagles want him throwing the ball more. Jalen Hurts' game stats, in my opinion, should be 25 passes, 14 completions, 175 yards passing, 85 yards rushing, touchdown passing, touchdown running. That should be Hurts. Not 35, 34, 38 passes, 18 completions, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks, and no rushing yards. You're never going to win like that. He's not good enough. I give you not just the top guys. That's my point that I've been trying to make to you for the last month and a half. The more they want him to be like one of these guys, he's not even Derek Carr. Why are they doing this? You see, you're never going to really get an answer. I tried listening. You know why I listened to John McMullen? Because I'm still trying to figure out why they're coaching him this way. I think they're fooling themselves. He's had 51 starts. He's never going to throw for $4,000. It's just not who he is. Well, he's had different coordinators. That's not who the organization is. You keep saying, well, Sills, they keep changing coordinators. That's by design. You're either good, get a job, or you're bad, and you get fired. Either way, there's a turnover. There's more turnover in your coaching staff than there is in your player roster. How about this? How many coordinators have you fired since Doug Peterson was fired? Or how many coordinators have left the Eagles since Doug left in 20? Doug, OC, DC left. So get this. Am I right when I say this? Who was the offensive coordinator? Can you guys help me here? Who was the offensive coordinator? Was it Doug in 2020? Or was it, what's his name? It's down there now in Jacksonville. Since 2020, head coach was fired. DC retired. OC was who? Was Mike Groth? Okay, he got fired. That's right, Mike Groh? Okay. So that was 2020. Your DC retired, so you had to change him out. Your OC was fired, and you fired a head coach. Correct? 2021 or 2020, 2022. Gannon got a job. DC left. OC left, got a job. Right? Okay. 2023, at the end of it, DC was fired, OC was fired, and another DC was fired. So here's what's happened. 2020, 1, 2, 3. 4 years. You have fired 1, 2, 3, 4 defensive coordinators. You have fired 1, 2, 3, 4 offensive coordinators. Counting Sirianni. And you have fired a head coach. So in the last 4 years, the Philadelphia Eagle franchise, who've gone to a Super Bowl in this time, have fired 8 coordinators and a head coach. Where in the world are you thinking that that's not by design? You've had 8 different coordinators in 4 years. Do you find that number high? Can you name me another team that's done that? 8 coordinators have been replaced in 4 years. 8. I never thought about it until I wrote it down here. Reggie goes, and I don't want to hear Hurts complaining about coordinators and stability when you're never going to get it. No excuses. You know what the organization is. Having coaches and having a new coordinator is completely by design. And if Jalen can't handle it, he ain't the guy for the job. That's my point. You've had 8 different coordinators on both sides of the ball in 4 years. What lends you to believe that there won't be turnover again? According to Fox Sports, every NFL team has hired new offensive coordinator. Get this. Every team, he says. 49ers have hired a new coordinator? I thought that was Kyle Shanahan. Rams have hired a new coordinator? I thought that was Sean McVay. Eagles have hired, or the Packers have hired a new coordinator? That's Matt LaFleur. These are all the play calling coaches. Your guys are play callers. The head coaches. You can hire a coordinator. There's a coordinator in Los Angeles right now with the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh's calling the plays, guy. See, he's lying. There's a offensive coordinator in Kansas City, but who calls the plays? The coordinator or Andy Reid? That's a lie. Eight different coaches have been canned in Philly in 4 years. So when Jalen cries about all these guys and these coordinators, dude, shut up. It's going to happen again at the end of this year. You're getting a new guy. It's an off-ramp to an excuse. You're damn right. It's meaningless shit. Stop complaining about it then. And it's not poor coaching. Stop complaining. It's your quarterback. Giving Howie carte blanche will haunt us forever. Yeah. You'll never win at a consistent rate the games that matter the most. It's fool's gold numbers. They should be 3-1 in Super Bowls. Can't blame coaches anymore for Jalen's failings when you've had 4 different coordinators in 4 years fired or left for other parts. One guy was the only guy that left for a job. The other 3 were fired, including Nick. I mean, it's an excuse. That has been my point here today with this. Well, Kellen will matter. No, he won't. No, he won't matter. Remember when Hurts was bitching and crying? Well, I wish I had some stability. Reminds me a lot of college. Did I keep that quote? I think I did keep that quote because I knew that would come up again. I think I did keep that quote and how he was crying and bitching and moaning about how it reminded him of being in college. Let me bring that quote up on Hurts. Crying and moaning about him and his stability. Yeah. Hurts complaining about stability in Philadelphia at coordinator. Yeah. Yeah, I got this. Here it is. I'm sick of the revolving door. He laid out his feelings in a matter in his first press conference since. I think as a player, I definitely yearn for the stability and the consistency here in Philly in coaching. As a quarterback, I yearn for those things, and a play caller and a quarterback coach, because you kind of see how consistency those areas can breed excellence. Bro, you're never going to get that in Philly. I find myself in the same situation, very similar to college, in terms of having a consistently revolving door in terms of coordinators and coaches. But I've always managed to have success in it. So that's always been a good thing because we've been able to learn from people and apply it. However, I think it's been a huge part of the development when you have consistency. I yearn for the time when we would be able to have an opportunity to keep things more stable. Quote, Jalen Hurts. You've had 4 coordinators in 4 years. Sounds like he wants a head coach that can bring stability and being that play caller. Bleed green, correct. That's the key to this thing. You want to stop that and help him? Get a head coach like Sean McVay. Get someone like that. Stop all this shit. Dude, Chris Long was the first guy to bring that shit up. Okay? Was the first one to bring that up. By the way, we're 72 away, guys. We got 30 minutes. Let's try to get to 250 here. Okay? Hey, I'd like to see him get a head coach like Andy Reid. Dude, a head coach like Andy Reid, or I wonder what Doug would have done with him. Forrest, shit, man. Steichen's the coach. Steichen's the coach. that would have led him back to they may have gone, hey, Forrest, do you agree that if Shane Steichen was the head football coach of the Philadelphia Eagles in 23, the Eagles are back in the Super Bowl? Do you agree with that, Xander? If Steichen's the head coach, he's going to make Anthony Richardson really good. Absolutely. How about this? If Shane Steichen's the head coach in Philly in 23, I'll say this to you guys. I personally think that the Eagles are back in the NFC title game a minimum, because he would have kept to that style. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Maybe not Super Bowl, but no offensive collapse and no 9 points against the shitty Bucks. Yeah. How about this? Let's just minimum do this. They win the East and are fighting for home field. Right? Are fighting for home field. Hey, man, if Josh Allen can struggle without having Brian Dable, don't you think Jalen Hurts struggles without having Shane Steichen? It can work that way too, guys. Just like Frank leaving after the Super Bowl win. Yeah, it hurt Wentz. Put him in a tailspin. Absolutely true. Completely agree. Completely agree. You can have the number one offense and still choke a wild card game. Ask the Cowboys organizations. That's why I don't care about regular season stats. Okay, well, then you should care about the fact that Jalen's 2-3 in the postseason. Okay. How do you know, Sills? One of these coordinators might get promoted. They're going to get promoted or fired. Sean, Kellen Moore is going to either be the head coach of the Eagles or somewhere else as head coach if they succeed. If he fails, he's fired for the third time in 3 years. There's no debating that. You have too much invest. Get this. Do you know why the pressure's on? Why do you guys think the pressure's on Philly this year? What would be the reason? Because you have invested so much resources. You can't come out of this empty-handed again. The guy in San Francisco, hey, Niner all day. You're in the same boat as the Eagles are. You can't walk away spending all that money on that side of the ball also. But here's your deal too, though. You're spending money, $20 million on Hargrave, $30 million on Boza, Fred Warner, the linebacker. You're talking a $20 million guy. You can't come away empty-handed. You just can't. And all the first-round equity you spent. Trades. You can't come out of that with nothing. The problem is that the fans give Howie credit for making mistakes like hiring Sirianni over elevating Steichen. It's hard to fire a coach who took a team to a Super Bowl. Okay? It is. And Jalen says, Doug wouldn't have started Hurts over Wentz. One reason why he was fired. And you know what really sucks about that, Jalen? It's probably because at that time they were battling over the roster and Doug didn't believe in Howie's draft picks because Howie's not been really good drafting quarterbacks or defensive players or wide receivers. He hadn't drafted Devontae yet. The rest of those wide receivers were terrible. He just came off of Jalen Reagor and had to deal with that mess. This is the last year the 49ers are loaded on both sides of the ball. They're going to have to pay Purdy. I agree. And I would say this to you, DC. First people that will go will be Hargrave, Brandon Ayuk, maybe Greenlaw. Hufanga. Maybe Kittle. I'm awake or you goes, Doug loves Hurts. Yeah, that's after the fact. It's easy to say that in Jacksonville. Was he saying that when he was in Philadelphia? I don't know. Last game of the year, they started saying Nate Sudfeld. How he does it again. Guys, he fired Steichen and hired Nick Sirianni. No, Gooby, I don't think that Nick Sirianni was hired by Howie. I think he was hired by Jeffrey Lurie. And let's be fair to Jeffrey Lurie here. He's never had a coach with a losing record since 2000. So, I mean, his hires don't blow. They don't blow. The league is very impatient. You're very good takes today. Steichen was never fired. He was elevated to a head coaching job. You've had 4 offensive coordinators in 4 years. You fired 5 defensive coordinators in 4 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive coordinators since 2000. Sills, you should ask Barry Switzer next time if Jalen would have played wishbone quarterback for him back in the day. Jalen is the best passing Wildcat quarterback I've ever seen. That could play in the NFL doing it. I don't believe there's another quarterback with his skill set I've ever seen in college. That includes Charlie Ward. That could play in the NFL and complete passes and win games like Hurts when he's running. Him just as a drop back guy, he's not good enough. Okay, I mean, he's not. But him in that dual threat role, he's the best I've seen. I mean, he is. Okay, Jalen, you've replaced 5 coordinators on defense since 2000. How's that for you? We'll use different terminology to make you feel better. You've replaced 5 defensive coordinators. Is that better? Do you feel better about that? Does that help your stability? You feeling okay about it? Guy wants to feel better, so I use a different word so he can feel better about it. Okay. So disrespectful, Sills. Wildcat quarterback shame. I agree with you. Dude, you're telling me that if you had a Wildcat quarterback who could throw the ball inaccurately, that wouldn't be somebody that would be one of the most undefensible players in the NFL? I don't know about you. I don't think that's an insult. A guy who can complete passes and run the Wildcat, you can't defend that. Sills hates good football, and that's why the Eagles are giving us this year for sure. Okay. I hate good football. No, I love championship football. You play for good football, and you root for good football. I root for championship football. It's all good, Reyes. Just the difference in me and you. Right there. You root for good football. I root for championship football. Clearly the difference. You saw what Jalen did in the Super Bowl. Believe your eyes. Okay, so that's like telling me that Nick Foles is an everyday starter in the NFL because he outplayed Brady in one game. I see. How come he couldn't keep a job? And Jalen Hurts never and has never played in a more important game and ever outplayed Nick Foles in that Super Bowl. His Super Bowl performance versus Nick Foles, not true. You think Jalen Hurts had a better Super Bowl than Nick Foles? Do you? Let's use your benchmark here. You think Jalen, his performance was better than Foles' performance? Not even counting winning here. I'm asking, who had a better performance? Oh, Marcus says because let's take winning out of it. So you think that Jalen had a better game than Foles? Huh. You do. What was Nick Foles' performance in the Super Bowl?
According to Arizona alumni,
So he was 28 of 43, wasn't sacked at all in that game. Right? He was 28 of 43. What was his yardage? What was his yardage in that game? 373, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, and 1 receiving touchdown. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry I asked that question. He had 3 touchdown passes and a touchdown reception. Jalen outplayed him. My point is, he played well in that game too, but he's no starter. After that, he was never a starter really until Wentz got hurt. He was never a starter anywhere. In Jacksonville, he was because they gave him that contract. Anything to make it happen. Brady threw for 500, 1 drop. Crazy great he played. Brady was great in that game. Brady was great. He was. Taking winning out of it? Absolutely. Show Nuff says that Jalen Hurts outplayed Nick Foles taking winning out of it. 28 of 43, 3 touchdown passes, 1 reception for a touchdown. He had 4 TDs in that ball game, and he thinks Jalen Hurts outplayed Nick Foles in that game. Oh my, this is oh my God. Okay. Okay. Oh my God. Jake Elliott may be the best player on the team. That guy is clutch, but he's a kicker, so he's not a football player. Okay? He's not really a football player. Hey, Bruce. Hey, Bruce. They're trying to tell you that Jalen outplayed Nick in that Super Bowl. And they're convinced themselves of it. And my point is, a guy can play great in that game. Nick didn't suck. I'm not throwing shade on him at all, actually. I actually like the quarterback. I actually would love him on my team. I like Nick. I'm a fan of his, man. I do. I'm a fan. If I'm the Eagles, I would want him on my team now as a backup quarterback. Tanner McKee's getting you nowhere. Put Foles on the team. Might help Hurts out when he sees something. Why wouldn't you have an experienced quarterback behind Jalen? Even Brady had one. Why wouldn't you do that? Okay, Marcus, you win. Jalen Hurts had a better Super Bowl performance than Nick Foles. That's how you see it? No problem. That's fine. Hey, believe me, when I say stuff like that, there's no debating it when someone is so, like Marcus is sold on that. I'm not going to debate it because there's no talking to somebody like that, because that's just not even remotely close to the facts. And I didn't even put winning in it. I agree, Sills. Hey, right. Andy Dalton or Flacco Slagger would be great behind Jalen. Just something. Hey, how about this, Slagger? Wouldn't it have been great a year ago if Jalen Hurts had Joe Flacco behind him? Why are the Eagles so afraid of a quarterback controversy? If Jalen is playing bad, that they would pull him out? I'm not pulling him out for Joe Flacco, even though Flacco went on to win the Comeback Player of the Year award, and you had him in the building a year previous. Why wouldn't you keep a guy like that on your roster to help him? Walks off the field instead of Brian Johnson. If you guys think Brian Johnson sucks so bad, right, and you think Brian Johnson blows so bad, why wouldn't you have had an experienced guy behind him? Do you know who was behind Brett Favre when he was in Green Bay? You had Mark Brunell, Ty Detmer, Kurt Warner, Aaron Rodgers. You had names like that behind Favre because Holmgren knew it couldn't have been just him. Okay? I mean, why wouldn't you want to have somebody behind your quarterback if he walks off the field and he goes, yeah, man, these guys are, do you see anything out there? Yeah, they've got too deep on you. That underneath is open. And some little comment like that, get the ball to Goddard, man. That's going to free up AJ and Devontae and the numbers. Tanner McKee, what's he going to tell you? Nothing. What's Marcus Mariota going to tell you? He's been a failures, and get people that have played 10 years in the league behind Jalen. But they're so worried about a quarterback controversy that they come up with all kinds of bullshit. Spin, think about this. What Spin just said, Sills. He really needs help with blitzing, absolutely, Sills. Veteran quarterback can beat the blitz and coverage. But Spin, you know what a guy like maybe Flacco or Andy Dalton can say? You can go like this. Hey, man, you maybe want to slide to your left a little bit. You know, just slide the front even. Some little nuance like that. Not taking his job. I don't want to replace him. I'm not looking to replace him. I'm looking to get him as much help as possible. And if you guys are telling me the coordinator sucks so bad, why not get a quarterback who didn't? I mean, anything like that. All right. Got a couple minutes left. Xander, where are we in the count right now? By the way, Angelo Cataldi will be with us. Xander's going to join us too tomorrow. We're going to do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Xander. So we're going to put him up there too. Xander, where are we? We're at 191. Guys, we're behind. Let's at least get it over 200, man. Come on, guys. Start off on Monday here. We're 69 days away from the start of training camp. Hey, I think you guys have made a remarkable rally here. Let's get it over 200. Push it up higher if we can before the end of the program. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Is the best vacation one that you find or one you get lost in? One that takes you to new heights or reminds you to go with the flow, to get your feet wet and your wheels spinning? One that lets you find your own rhythm or get carried away? Find the best of yourself. Get lost in the woods. Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Listen, if we even think you owe us money, you won't know what hit you. We'll put liens on everything you own. Raid your bank accounts, retirement fund, pension. You'll open up your paycheck and cry because we'll already have the money. We'll haul you into federal court and you might even go to jail. Hey, it's our job.
Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. Our experts will fight for you using IRS guidelines to stop any IRS actions like bank levies or wage garnishments. Plus, eliminate penalties and interest and reduce your past tax bill so you pay the IRS less. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a tax doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
I'd have my mom call the number on the screen. You come see me alone. We'll work it out.
EAGLES, Eagles.
I've never seen someone hate on a guy as much. Hate on a guy. I don't give a shit who the guy is. I don't hate anybody. I have a preference of what I want my QB to look like. And you don't like that, it really doesn't bother me. It doesn't. I have a preference on what wins. And again, in today's NFL, the only person that is not in the mainstream National Football League is your QB. Receivers are 100-catch guys now. By the way, do you understand that your wide receivers have now caught up with the league, but your quarterback hasn't? The Eagle wide receivers, both of them, Devontae and AJ, are the first receivers in Eagle history to have 100 catches in a year. It's only taken you 80 years for that. It's only taken you 80 years, but you've caught up. Tight ends have always been good in Philly. The quarterbacks don't. You've had one QB throw for $4,000 in 80 years. I mean, and it's Wentz. Troy Aikman played 25 fucking years ago. when they had the number one. Hey, dude, you can't compare Troy Aikman to anybody when you have a running back that gained 18,000 yards. This guy's trying to go, he should throw the ball as much. Why should Aikman throw when no one could stop Emmett? DC goes, Aikman didn't have to put big numbers up. No, because the running back put up 1,800 yards every year and 25 touchdowns. Yeah, I don't have to throw the ball much because I'm going to be third and short the majority of the time, and I got a Hall of Fame wideout. If I've got the best back in pro football history, why in the world would I throw the ball 40 times? You sound like the Eagles. I got the best O-line, but I want to throw the ball 38 times. Why would I do that? With that Dallas O-line and Emmett run, get this, that O-line was there under Landry. He just didn't have Emmett till Jimmy drafted him. Jimmy drafted one guy in that O-line with Emmett initially. You know who it was? It was Stepnoski. Gogan was there. Nate was already there. Tune was already there. They already had that entire what's his name? Crawford Kerr was already there. Those guys were all drafted and signed by Tom Landry. And they won 4 games previous to Jimmy getting there. Wasn't like that was an all-star O-line. Not until Emmett showed up. I mean, no, I should throw the ball 40 times, and I got Emmitt Smith, who gained 18,000 yards in his NFL career. Yeah, nobody wants to win games like that, though, anymore. They don't want a running. Don't you get it? Nobody wants to win football games with a running back like Derrick Henry anymore. Seals, the whole league sees the Eagles making moves all offseason, a potential big threat. But you talk about how everyone is washed up or garbage. On your defense, they are garbage. You made no moves except one. We don't know what the draft picks are. The rest of those guys, one was a lateral move, and Gardner Johnson. Nowhere else. They were everybody's throwaways. Devin White, throwaway Bucks. Bryce Huff, lateral move. Oren Burke, a pickup. What moves? We'll see what the rookies do. We will. We'll see what the rookies do. I'm not saying anything either way. I like the kid, Teron Arnold, because he played in a better conference. That's it. That doesn't mean Mitchell's not going to be good. Make that very clear. I don't know if he's going to be good or not. I don't know. So we shall see. Xander, where'd we end up, man? I think you guys made a really great rally here on our lights number. Very, very pleased with this. Guys, thank you. 203, take it. Absolutely on a Monday. Training camp away, 69 days. I think that's a grand slam. Great job, guys. Way to rally. Thank you very much. Tomorrow, Angelo Cataldi will be with us. Also, we're going to put Xander on with us tomorrow as well. Xander's a fan. Xander thinks that Hurts can lead him back to a Super Bowl. Okay. Again, 22 Hurts. Yeah. 23 Hurts in that style. Never. That'll be a good conversation tomorrow to join us. Don't forget, Farzi also starts our broadcasting off in the morning, and then Burst 365, and then us. Keep up to date. We appreciate everybody. Please hit the like button. You guys were awesome again. Xander, Big Joe, we thank you. 2 to 6 tomorrow, and we shall see you on the flip side.